thumpers, to another episode of Hyper Heroes here on Hyper Rabbit Power Go. It's a new year, it's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new set.
Is this episode 1, season 3?
Ooh.
Season 2?
Let's call it.
Well, this has to technically be the season finale of last season.
Why?
Because we are recapping the end of 2018.
No. This is season 1. Because sometimes, this is episode 1 of the new season. Because sometimes a new episode of a new season will still give you that little like cliffhanger that happened last year. Just like I'm talking Young Justice, baby, season 3. That's what it does. Recaps, and then it brings you into what's happening in the next year.
The only reason that doesn't work is because we're going through an entire rebranding here. So I kind of want to start the new season when the rebrand happens.
Oh, okay. So this is a point 1.
Yeah.
Episode point 1.
This is like 0.05.
Okay. So 0.05 episode. What season?
3.
3?
I guess it doesn't matter at this point.
Dude, are we counting superhero news? Are we counting the film pundits? What are we doing? How far back are we going?
We're not going that far back.
Season 7.
I know, right?
Season 24.
Oh, man.
No, but we're super excited to be back. As you've noticed, it's a new set. I'll touch on that a little bit more. Thank you so much for watching. If you don't know who I am, I'm Adam Hlavik, and I'm joined here with the dynamic duo of Hector Navarro and Agustin Rios.
Ooh,
nice.
that was
nice.
You've been practicing.
No, I have not been practicing.
Oh.
Here's the thing. We haven't done this show in so long that I wrote down a bunch of notes because I know I will forget the things that I absolutely have to address.
Dude, you're crushing
it. Looks
dude.
good. Yeah, you're doing really well. Keep going.
Honestly,
keep impressing me.
If I were to come up with a nickname for Adam right now, it would be the Crushinator.
The Crushinator.
God damn it, Crushinator jumped!
My nickname in the Showdown is the Haymaker.
I love him.
Is that doable?
Yeah, the Haymaker's good.
The
Haymaker's good.
Adam, the Haymaker Hlavik.
Yeah, that's how they introduced me.
What's
guys,
up, Lucas?
Thank you so much for watching. If this is the first time you watch, Hyper Heroes is a weekly talk show we do every week here on Hyper Rabbit Power Go, where we talk about superheroes in film, television, sometimes comic books, sometimes video games, and if we do talk about comic books, it's usually referencing things that are in the comics.
Yeah.
Thanks, Hector. That's thanks to you.
And if you're thinking to yourself right now, oh, great, 3 dudes with glasses talking about superhero stuff. We don't need more of that. We're very good. You should watch this show.
Someone watched our trailer reaction
It's
for
special.
Spider-Man Far From Home and realized halfway through that you were from DC All Access.
Oh, yeah. That's fun.
Oh, interesting.
That was good.
Yeah. I'm like, well, we found him first, though.
I mean,
I'll take it.
there's probably a lot of new people watching, too. We got a lot of new subs recently after that trailer reaction.
So we did a trailer reaction
Welcome.
for Spider-Man Far From Home. We did a trailer reaction for John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum.
Yeah.
We are very close to hitting 100,000 subscribers. It will be the first time we'll have hit that milestone.
That's a big deal.
Doing stuff together
That's
because
a
we've
big
jumped
deal.
around quite a few times.
Yeah.
But this is the closest we've ever been, and it tastes so good.
Ooh.
Tastes like
That's
a
100K,
California
dude.
burrito.
Ooh, what happens when we hit 100K?
I have
Does
no
YouTube
idea.
send us a bullshit thing to frame?
It's a little delayed.
Probably.
It's a little delayed, but we'll get one eventually.
Okay, cool. Okay,
Probably, yeah.
Also, if you want to listen to the show on the go, go to the links in the description. We have links for Apple Podcasts, Google Play, SoundCloud. We're working on Spotify. It's a thing trying to get your podcast on Spotify. But if you're listening, thank you. If you're watching, thank you so much for watching. Also, we got to pay some bills around here.
Yeah.
And, keep the lights on.
This is new. This is good.
Before we get our show on the road, we have a sponsor, MeUndies. MeUndies is an underwear and basics company inspiring confidence and comfort for every body, specializing in men and women's underwear and also socks, tees, and loungewear.
Awesome.
I'm very much looking forward to that. So if you want to buy something for your significant other for Valentine's Day, or just treat yourself to a new pair of boxers, panties, loungewear,
any kind of
whatever you enjoy, I will be because I need my chonies refilled. Speaking of refills, they have a monthly membership where you can get new chonies every single month.
What?
Just go to the link in the description or go to meundies.com/hyperrpg to get 15% off your purchase.
I should do that, dude.
You should.
I hate having to.
Amir did it.
I've got underwear that are years old at this point. I need to throw them out.
Same.
You know what I mean? It's just like
I need a fresh
guys,
pair of chones.
You guys need to freshen up just go to Marshall's or Ross or MeUndies, actually.
That's right.
Get some new chonies. Do you think they appreciate it being called chonies? I think they like being called chonies.
If it's us delivering it, it's chonies.
Yes, that is the highest form of endearment from Mexicans,
Exactly.
especially. Chonies?
Exactly.
Yeah. That's the best.
Yeah, for sure.
They also have throughout the year they have different themes, like they have Star Wars ones and all kinds of stuff.
You can match with your significant other, apparently.
In fact, if MeUndies wants to market to Latin America, they should change it to Mi Chonis.
Mis Chonis.
And have us market it for you. We got it.
Dude, I'll come in here boxers only.
That's
Just
right.
hook it up.
Can we do a boxers only episode?
But then the camera's just going to be under the table,
That's
and we're just going to be like this the whole time.
Ooh, mis chonis.
Mis chonis. Oh, they're so comfortable.
So just go to the link in the description and get 15% off.
I feel so supported, Holmes.
That's right. That's the biggest thing, going that route and buying using our coupon code. It supports Hyper RPG. It gets you some awesome loungewear because if you have not noticed, we are in a brand new set. This is not our permanent set.
Yeah.
We had to unexpectedly move from our old Hyper RPG studio, which was also the house that I lived in with Zach, Malika, and our friend Bert. We are now in a new spot, and there's a lot of potential for this spot because this set that we're on tonight, this is the Twitch studio.
Correct. Right.
The place that we live in is multiple stories. So now we can now have a little bit of an expansion, and upstairs, which hopefully I think the plan is next week, we will be having our second episode of the year in our new YouTube studio.
Our first episode of the season is next
First
week.
episode of the season.
This is the preview. This is 0.5.
Right,
Yeah, this is the 0.5 version.
And you might have seen it already. It's in the Spider-Man Far From Home trailer reaction and John Wick.
Yeah.
The nice thing about having that separation is when trailers drop unexpectedly or we come in and we go to a screening for a movie.
Knock it out.
We can come in, immediately record it, upload it, publish it, and there's not a big lag and not a big delay. That being said, if trailers keep coming out at 5 a.m. by Marvel and DC, you won't get to them until later in the afternoon.
It's because they're not thinking about us. They're thinking about New Yorkers.
Exactly.
And that's it. That's it.
Because these guys, they work. I live here. I can do it whenever, but these guys got jobbies,
we got
full-time
jobs.
But I'm looking forward to that. I think that's going to be a lot of fun to have opportunities to expand and create more content and try to do things in a more timelier manner because, man, do I get sick of those. Where's your trailer reaction comments?
Adam loves them.
Love
kidding.
you guys.
No,
love
he
you guys.
doesn't.
But, sometimes it's a little bit of a pain in the pooper to hear that all day.
It's okay.
Speaking of which, with that expansion, hopefully the next thing that we're going to be working on is revamping our Patreon.
Yeah.
We know we owe you guys a movie watch along of Darkman. That was the winner of the last movie watch along that we did. So I'm very excited to give that movie a rewatch. So we're going to be working on that. Us three are going to be working on it, and then we're going to be working on it with Zach and Malika as well. We don't really have a date for when that's going to launch, but just stay tuned to patreon.com/hyperrpg. We also want to make sure we're working with the patrons who have stuck through this move since we weren't able to do any content because we've been moving for the last month and a half. But it's going to be a lot of fun. We've talked about some stuff, and we're trying to figure it out because, again, people have jobs, people have very limited schedules, so we have to make sure that whatever we can do, it's practical, and we're not,
burning ourselves
up and having, nights where we don't sleep because that's just not good for anybody.
No.
But I'm very excited for the new year. Moving into this place, I was a little bit apprehensive about moving into something that's a little bit smaller, a little bit tighter, but having the extra space where we can have separate studios for everything, I think is going to be really, really nice.
Yeah. Very vertical. It's nice.
Yes. And Hyper is actually going to be going through an entire brand redesign as well. How that's going to affect our show, it's very likely not. We might update some graphics and some stuff, but we're really working, I think for the last year and a half that we've been doing the show, Hyper Heroes and Hyper RPG have felt very separate. They're two very separate things that exist on the same channel. And I think a lot of that is because Hyper RPG, or Hyper as it's going to be called for short now, or Hyper Rabbit Power Go, the real focus has always been Twitch, RPGs, all that kind of stuff. And now we're going to sort of start working more together. You've seen Zach and Malika and Lucas on trailer reactions. We had Zach on Spider-Man. So we're going to really try to make sure that we're unifying everything so it feels like it's all coming from the same place. So there's a lot less separation of that kind. I think it's going to be better for us because it allows us to do more stuff and not always having to just rely on us three being here.
Correct.
Which is okay. And it means that we don't have to be covering 15,000 things throughout the year because you were just in New Zealand for like a week. And when you're not here, having the flexibility to have other people step in is super helpful rather than saying, well, we have to delay something for a whole week because Hector's gone.
Right.
And it's going to be
not putting any pressure on you.
No, not at all. It's going to be helpful for Hyper as well. Not Hyper Heroes, but the rest of Rapid Power Go because it we'll hopefully be able to take some of that like workload, like you're saying, when the second sort of mini studio opens up, that we'll just be able to knock stuff out and be very automatic and on our own, and it's going to be great.
Yeah, I agree.
It's going to be a lot of fun. So I can't wait. It's going to be a good year. Looking forward to it. But before we get into the superhero movies coming out this year, we obviously didn't get to talk about any of the superhero movies that came out in December. We also never got to talk about Venom. So we're going to spend the majority of this episode.
Hector laughed when you said Venom.
Yeah, I was like, Venom.
We'll talk
It's
about
a funny movie. It's a silly, funny
It's silly.
movie.
I liked it.
It's
I
funny.
liked it.
It's silly.
So we're going to talk about, and it's been asked 100,000 times, we're going to talk about Aquaman, we're going to talk about Spider-Verse, Bumblebee, the most, I would say, and then we'll touch a little bit on Venom, and then we're just going to kind of recap the other 2018 movies. We're not going to review them because we've already done a bunch of reviews and discussions on those.
Yeah.
And then I'll get you guys' like top 3 of the year for superhero movies, which I think ours are all going to be the same.
Probably.
But I think they might just be in different orders.
Yeah, they'll be the same, I think.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we're all going to agree on this.
And then at the end, we're going to talk a little, just briefly about going into 2019, what we're expecting. I saw Glass last night, so I'll give you a little bit of what I thought about that. Very interesting year. Okay. Not starting strong. I'll tease that.
I saw Movie Bob's review of the movie, and we'll talk about it.
And I will
also
say, before we deep dive into Glass, I don't consider it really a superhero movie.
Okay.
It is.
It
it's
is.
a superhero
I mean,
movie.
that's what.
But it's not. It's not.
Hey, save it. Save it. We'll get into it.
Save it. So just recapping 2018, these are the movies that came out last year. February 16th, Black Panther.
Good.
Opening strong.
Opening really strong. April 27th, Avengers Infinity War, the 10-year culmination of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Raising the bar, bringing in Thanos, bringing the Infinity Stones and the Infinity Gauntlet. Holy crap, what a finale, what an ending. May 18th, Deadpool 2.
I like
Proving that Deadpool can stay fresh and not revamp jokes.
Yes, exactly.
Keep it going.
Then we had The Incredibles 2 after 14 years on June 15th.
Good.
This was the greatest birthday present of my life.
Yeah.
I was so excited to go back to the theater and watch Incredibles 2.
I liked it.
It was amazing. I loved it so much. Then July 4th weekend, we had Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Proving Paul Rudd has that power to stay as well.
Yes, him telling jokes in the beginning and doing those little gags, I was like, I love this guy. He's so great.
And then showing Wasp that she can be a badass as well.
Exactly. Then July 27th, Comic-Con. Right after Comic-Con, we had Teen Titans Go to the Movies.
I liked it.
I liked it a lot. I thought it was a really fun movie. I'm a little bummed it didn't make more money at the box office. We'll get into it a little bit. Then October 5th, we had Venom.
Still haven't seen it.
I liked it.
I liked it too. It was really dumb, but it was fun.
I don't know if it's good. I don't think it is, but I liked it.
It's like one of those guilty pleasure movies that you're like, all right, it's dumb. And then December, I think December was a really good month. December 14th, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which was incredible.
I liked
this
it
is
very
what we
much.
live for. December is what we live for.
So good.
I liked it very much.
Then December 21st, I wouldn't consider this a superhero movie either, but it was a movie that I want to talk about mostly because I was looking forward to it so much, and I was so happy with how it turned out, and that was Bumblebee.
I liked it.
I really liked Bumblebee
liked it.
a
You
lot.
Still haven't seen it.
Oh,
no,
man.
No.
And
That's
then
probably this weekend, though.
Okay. And then December 21st, on the same day as Bumblebee, we got DC's latest installment, Aquaman.
I liked it.
That's the one I saw.
This was fun. I had a great time with this movie.
I don't think Augustine liked it.
Oh!
Just kidding. I loved it.
No,
I thought it was
you
great.
did. Really?
Yeah, I loved it.
For real?
I
It was
loved
fun.
Aquaman.
Oh, homie,
It was fun.
I think you're ready for Fast and Furious, baby. That's it.
I think I am,
If you're in that headspace, let's go see Fast and Furious.
I love this movie. We can get into it.
Yeah, we'll get
James
into
Wan
it.
did some cool shit, and I want to talk about it.
He did.
Yeah.
So just
that trench.
Oh my God, the trench was so good. So just to get an idea of sort of the contribution that superhero movies made theatrically. Now this doesn't include some direct to DVD stuff that came out from DC. Gotham by Gaslight, I think, was one of them.
Deadpool Christmas.
Yes, we
I
had.
haven't seen that one yet either.
I haven't either. I haven't seen the new PG-13 recut of Deadpool.
Yeah, we haven't yet.
But the domestic total for superhero movies theatrically, and I believe this includes Once Upon a Deadpool. I think they rolled that box office revenue into Deadpool 2. It's $3,216,971,250.
Dang.
That's just domestic. Just
Domestic.
North America.
Oh my God.
Worldwide, this is everywhere.
Because I was about to say, I was like, wait, Black Panther hit $1 billion.
Yeah.
Avengers hit $1 billion. How is that already? Oh my God.
And don't forget, some of these movies are still in theaters. Bumblebee, Spider-Verse, Aquaman, I think Venom even, are still in theater. They're still racking up money. So this is as of today. You're watching this, I think it's December 18th, or January 18th, Jesus. $8,634,108,993 doll hairs. A lot
of doll hairs.
A lot of money.
Let me get that last $93.
Let me get 1% of that.
Let me just get that.
That $93.
Yeah. I'll take that right now.
Thank you.
Absolutely crazy. But,
Thank you.
So
yeah.
Let's quickly just kind of touch on. I know we did a little bit, but for me, Black Panther. I thought what Ryan Coogler brought to the table in terms of the story, the visuals, the music, the acting, with Michael B. Jordan playing Killmonger so incredibly well. He's probably one of the best villains we've had since. I think the only other MCU villains that I've really enjoyed have been Thanos and Loki the most.
Vulture.
Vulture
Don't forget
was great.
Vulture, Michael
was
Keaton.
great. And I like Hela. I like the performance.
Yeah.
The character and the backstory I'm not crazy about, but I think Cate Blanchett was great. But I was very surprised by Killmonger. And I was also just surprised how much, even though this story is told from a very unique perspective, there are still elements of it that are relatable.
Yeah.
And there are elements of it that are just so fun to watch and to consume and to enjoy.
This thing was a great example of a fantastic group of storytellers working within parameters that I happen to love. I love and respect those parameters of, like, you're telling a movie within a larger framework within the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which I think is super cool and super great. And that allows you to weave in certain characters and from other movies and make references and callbacks and, teases for future stuff. That's what it does. But to have to make a movie in that framework, I know a lot of people don't like it. A lot of movie fans are like, that's bad about movies because you can't have creativity in it. But this is a great example of a creative team working within that that is able to bring something to the genre that has never happened before. In my opinion, the perspective that Ryan Coogler brought, the fact that he made you empathize and sometimes sympathize with Killmonger, with Eric. What's his last name? Stevens. Killmonger. And that was, I think, the genius of Ryan Coogler, and is able to bring to a world and a universe that up to this point hasn't delved too much into race. And how people and is the history the exact same as our world history? Well, up to a certain point,
really.
World War II had a guy named Captain America running around, but basically after that, everything's been the same until Tony Stark, this guy named Tony Stark, said, "I am Iron Man," and ran around in a metal suit. So does that mean that the same colonization happened, European colonization around the world, the same racist history that exists in the world, in the United States, and
it does. Throw out the term colonizer. So,
constantly, and it's something that's so genius because there's stuff that's really interesting to look at when Stan Lee and Jack Kirby created the idea of Black Panther and Wakanda in their 60s comic books. Good and bad, that they plugged in there, and that Ryan Coogler was able to step back and go, well, wait, if this is true, how could Wakanda ever stand by when the rest of this happened? And there's an answer in universe, which is they remained isolationist, but Ryan Coogler's genius is, well, I'm going to make a character that is going to question that because that's the only way that this can kind of go forward
and
step into the spot and exist and be real and instead of exist and be made by white storytellers and filmmakers that are just and Wakanda just stayed. Then you have black storytellers coming in and they go, no, the why. And that's the most interesting stuff. Anyway, Black Panther is really fucking great. Super special and really fucking great.
I agree. I mean, more and as important as all that stuff is, I mean, the cultural movement as well was super huge. What kind of affected me most is that our buddy Pooch's wife. She's not a huge superhero fan. She tolerates it because her husband is just like us.
You mean her husband Booster freaking Gold?
Yes, because her husband's Booster Gold. But when Pooch told me that she cried when that movie just started, when everybody was on the river, when they were about to do the fight at the waterfall, she was sobbing because she had never seen anything like that. And Jess, her name's Jess. Jess doesn't really know her African cultural heritage. I think she's like 4th or 5th generation African American here, but just seeing it on screen touched her so much that it made her cry. And so this is something that, I mean, it's very important. We haven't seen it before. And I think it kind of opened the door for other movies like this to happen.
To do that.
Crazy Rich Asians also happened this last year. We've never seen an ensemble like that. Exactly.
People showed up. People showed up.
People are showing up.
You know what I love too? A lot of audience, especially on online social media, a lot of audience that showed up for Black Panther, they were expressing the love of hey, we showed up for Black Panther, we're going to show up for Crazy Rich Asians
Right,
as
exactly,
well.
The support
exactly.
was there.
It's that there's this, I feel like there's a similar audience with like last year it was Coco.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
right.
You know, the year before that it was Moana. Also last year was Wonder Woman.
Yes.
These
Right.
movies that do come with a moment, this thing where it's like, wow, we
They're
haven't
speaking
seen
to people,
we
yes.
haven't seen this kind of story
Yes.
in this medium, whether it's a Disney cartoon or
Right.
a superhero movie or just a rom-com.
Exactly.
Which is so crazy to be like there hasn't been a rom-com at this level with this sort of budget with this all-star studded cast. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
been so cool that Black Panther gets talked about in those same
Exactly.
conversations.
Now I'm going to say something a little controversial.
Okay.
Oscar worthy? Maybe not.
Ooh, and
Maybe
I'm gonna
not.
let me fire back at that with
Go.
I don't disagree, but compared to the history of the Oscars,
Yes.
fuck yes.
Well, of
we're
course,
talking
absolutely.
we're talking District 9 got nominated Best
Absolutely,
Picture.
yes.
Like, bro,
Yes.
District 9's great.
Right.
But Black Panther's up there.
Yeah,
Avatar, James Cameron's Avatar gets nominated for Best Picture. Bro, put Black Panther in there.
It should,
You know what I'm saying?
it
That's
should
all I'm
get
saying.
up there. It should get
Yeah.
up there.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I feel like people are kind of like putting it up there as like it should automatically win. I don't think so. I
No,
don't think it should automatically win.
To me, I get the defensiveness of, you know, don't discount it only because I just look at the history of the Oscars.
Yeah.
I look
Right,
at any
right,
time
Well,
like
especially movies of this genre.
Exactly. Anytime a
Right.
popular or genre movie gets
Yeah.
nominated,
Right.
you know, I feel like genre fans love when that stuff happens, whether
Yeah.
it's horror with stuff like Get Out, whether
Yeah.
it's,
I mean, look, The Dark Knight didn't make it in, and it was probably in the top, in my opinion, top 3 to 5 best films of 2008.
Yeah.
Period.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so it feels like there is an obvious bias against
Yeah.
a comic book superhero.
There is.
It feels that way.
Right.
It
Right.
feels like there's other biases in the Academy Awards,
Yeah.
in animated movies, in
Right.
this, and this, and
Absolutely.
that. So like,
100%.
I think that shit does exist.
It does.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So when you talk about Black Panther with just the history of the Oscars of like
Yeah.
that year when they blew it out and they're like 10 nominees and it's like
Right.
District 9 snuck up on there.
Right,
It's
right.
like, yeah, man, District 9's great, but Black Panther it does similar things and it
Right.
excels in some other things. So
Exactly,
like, but if you
exactly.
want to just say like objectively, scientifically, one of the best movies of the year, I am agreeing.
Yeah,
I'm in agreement with
I
you.
agree, and I
I get
didn't
it.
say that meaning to
Yeah,
like to
sure.
mean the movie
For sure.
whatsoever.
Discredit it. It's-
And I think it's also bullshit that they made that special category just for
Or
Black
they
Panther.
were gonna.
They were
Right,
gonna.
right,
Yeah,
right.
But now
Exactly.
now
I'm
it's
like,
the back
no,
burner.
that's stupid. Like,
Yeah.
give it a nod, give it a
Yep.
nomination, but then again, let it go to the vote. Like, don't give it
Now,
special preference.
You know what's funny is that I feel that way. I think that it deserves it in certain contexts, and sometimes it also doesn't deserve it. But when you say Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, I'm already like, yes, it should be nominated for an Oscar for Best Picture or for Best Animated Movie.
But if it was between those two movies,
but I'm already like, but Spider-Verse is Best Picture. I'm going,
yeah,
maybe, because when I look at the best the animated movies that have been nominated for Best Picture,
Right.
it was Beauty and the Beast, it was Up, it was Toy Story 3, and I'm like, bro, I love those movies. Spider-Verse
murdered everybody.
You see what I'm saying?
Spider-Verse murdered
So it's like
everybody.
you really got to look at the context of like, you know, if there were only one superhero movie that made it into the Academy Awards, I don't give a shit, but like only one, you know, and it wasn't Black Panther, but it was Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse for Best Picture, I would be like, yes.
Yeah. No,
Now,
I
do I think
agree.
it deserves to win against the other nominees? I haven't seen the other nominees
Right,
yet. I
exactly.
don't know. I'm not saying
Exactly.
automatically, but
Right.
like I know how special that movie is.
Oh, absolutely.
The one big win that I have disagreed with in terms of Black Panther is visual effects. That to me for sure is they're not bad. I think too many people focus on the final sequence of that movie. Yes, I think
final sequence is terrible.
I don't think it's good at all. Sorry, I don't think it's good.
Final
I don't
sequence
think it's
is
good.
bad.
I think there's a lot of stuff before that was great.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of that, yes, it is visual effects, but a lot of it is also production design, the way they designed it.
And Killmonger's yellow and like
Yeah.
the gold and black was dope.
Yeah,
like that,
yeah.
that design was
like
really
I probably
good.
would have out of all the choices, I probably would have given it to something like Infinity War because I just think that like from beginning to end, all the way through, it is a very consistently solid
And
visual effects
Thanos,
movie.
and never at one point did you not believe that that thing was real.
Exactly,
You know, like
exactly.
the VFX on Thanos, probably the most convincing VFX that I've seen probably ever.
It's time well spent on that
Yeah.
one. And
Yeah.
with Black Panther, there's definitely moments where you're watching
Yeah.
and you're like, oh, okay, these are CG figures.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, that it gets that little shiny
Yeah.
kind of newness or whatever. That's
Yeah.
But speaking of
Doesn't quite
Infinity
sell it.
War, let's talk about Infinity
so
War.
in Infinity War for me, really quick for me, it was such a success mostly because it was the culmination of 10 years of build-up of story
man.
from the
Yeah.
very first moment that Nick Fury walked into Iron Man 1 and said, "You're part of a greater universe, you just don't know it yet."
Right.
And the payoff of that promise that one day we will see Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, Black Widow, Hawkeye
All together.
all together fighting in the
Hawkeye not
Avengers,
yet.
then teasing Thanos at the end of Avengers
Yeah,
1.
yeah.
And, 6 years later,
Yeah.
paying that off with the huge buildup, going
Right.
through Age of Ultron, Civil War, the Winter's, just all these little pieces that helped sort of support that story.
Right.
Introducing the Guardians of the Galaxy so successfully, where we first saw Thanos, and really planting the seeds of this is someone who is terrifying, who is on a mission, who, in some regard, kind of like characters like Killmonger and the Joker and Loki, maybe less Loki, but you feel for them, you understand, you're empathetic
right.
to why they are the way they are. And I thought it paid off so incredibly well. It was so masterfully done, so impressive visually. Just the fact that they were able to take these 15 and 20 actors, including Josh Brolin, make it all work, make it all feel like the story makes sense from an editorial perspective, the sound design, all the technical elements worked so incredibly well for me. And the fact that on paper it is also so incredibly good. And at the end, it just punches you in the gut so hard and just leaves you with a big question mark over your head that now going into Endgame, we can try to theorize anything that we want. They're all a possibility.
Yeah, they're
but
all
also
valid.
none of them could be a possibility.
Right, exactly.
And I love that. To me,
Yeah.
building up the universe the way that they did so successfully made me realize how much potential building a shared universe can have. And Marvel has really nailed it.
I feel like that should kind of get recognition on its own somehow, and some kind of filmmaking
achievement
or
well,
something.
It's just like when Walt Disney premiered Snow White.
Yeah.
The Academy just gave him an Oscar, and it's 7 small Oscars
Right,
because they're
right,
wow,
right.
no one's ever done an animated film at this level before. It's really groundbreaking, and I feel like years from now we're going to see Kevin Feige just given an Oscar for
there will be a lifetime achievement.
Yes,
I mean there better be
before he's done retired. Where it's
in 5 years.
It's like the shit that you've overseen. It's pretty incredible.
And not even that. It's just we're living through the golden era. I truly feel this is the golden era of superhero movies.
Oh, for sure.
And also just to see this achievement done in our lifetimes. Who has pulled off a universe this cohesive and so successfully before? Nobody has. We've never seen this in movies before. So this is either setting the stage that nobody's ever going to be able to cross again, or it's just setting up for future filmmakers to be like, I see what you did. I'm going to try to one-up you, and then we're going to see even better things later on in the future.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think to that point, we've had moments in movies where they've tried to do Supergirl had Christopher Reeve, her Superman was Christopher Reeve.
Right.
They always hinted toward those things, but Marvel is really the first one to say, why don't we have a shared universe?
They just went for it. They didn't ask, they didn't really have a blueprint for it. They just had somebody who knew they wanted to do. Kevin Feige knew what he wanted to do. Luckily, he was a huge fan of superheroes or is a huge fan of superheroes, and he was just like, yeah, dudes, I'm a good salesman. I'm going to pitch this to you. You're going to buy it, and we're going to do it. And then it happened, and it turned out great.
He had the luck of having some great mentors in his career, like Richard Donner,
absolutely.
Donner.
Yeah.
So,
gold standard.
He's a smart guy. He's a smart guy.
I feel like we need to rush through the rest of these because there's so much to talk about these first 2 movies. It is so top-heavy in the beginning of this year.
Yeah.
You can make a case for Black Panther being the best movie in the MCU to date. You can make a case for Infinity War being the best movie in this franchise to date. I think the ending is super ballsy, and I know that we live in a cynical internet age, but I feel like this is an ending that was talked about so much that I wasn't alive in 1980, but I imagine that moviegoers back then were talking about The Empire Strikes Back in a similar way of oh, what's gonna happen? And it become this this tectonic shift in pop culture where it became such a thing that Thanos is almost like a new Darth Vader. This snap is almost like a new "No, I am your father" moment where people are like, Thanos was in the Simpsons couch gag.
That's right.
Y'all see that?
Yep.
I didn't see that. No.
And the Russo brothers were stoked, and then they kind of retweeted it, where the family runs up and Thanos has his gauntlet, and then Maggie hands him the pacifier. He puts it in, and it goes like, and then they all get dusted except for Maggie, and then she crawls up, and then they watch TV.
It's like Papa Thanos.
And it is an incredible achievement. I remember talking about this movie before it came out, and we were all like, Daredevil better be in it. Fucking Luke Cage better be. And I'm not saying that I'm glad that they're not, but we were so spoiled with how well this movie balances the characters that it has.
Yeah.
I was an idiot thinking it's not going to be enough of a gimmick. If the first Avengers movie's gimmick was like all these franchises in one, Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, Hulk, my brain was like, it's not going to be enough to just do all of that plus Guardians of the Galaxy. And I was wrong because the Guardians brought so much story. Thanos brought so much story. All these characters interacting. And they were so smart to the way that they were not going to get stale, where it's like Captain America, Iron Man, and Thor show up. And then here the Guardians doing their own thing. They're like Thor and Rocket Raccoon. Let's explore that. And it became this incredible pairing. And then you've got Hulk and Captain America and Black Panther, and Banner and stuff in Wakanda. Yeah. And then you've got maybe my favorite of these groupings, Peter Parker, Tony Stark, Stephen Strange. Yeah. I didn't think I was going to love that as much as I did, And then they meet up with the Guardians. And then so it was so smart of them to go, let's do these different combinations of characters to just basically do a victory lap of like, look at how good our character work is. Look at how good and worth it's been to live with these characters up to this point. In many ways, we're going to do the characters the best they've ever been done in this movie even. They're not just standing by. It's a victory lap, but it's also like we're working our ass off. We're going to make you cry with Gamora. And I've loved Gamora in the 2 movies leading up to this, but like and Nebula and all of that stuff. Like
family drama.
Fuck, man. The way that every character's story really comes to fruition in this.
You cared almost about every single character.
Yeah. Yep. And just just the Thor rocket scene where he's like, I've got nothing else to lose. And you're like, damn. Okay, time to go be a captain. Like, it's so good. Yeah. It's so good. So, kudos to they don't need to hear it. Whatever.
They don't care about your kudos, Hector.
If you worked on Infinity War, shut up. All right,
get
next.
Out of here.
Let's move on.
Deadpool 2. I mean, it
cool.
was
pretty cool.
It was,
next.
It was.
I really like Deadpool 2.
It was a good time.
I do too. I again, Josh Brolin. He had a really great year. Having him come in as Cable, expanding that universe was a lot of fun. A little bit more of that X-Men flavor. A little bit. It was a different style from Tim Miller, having David Leitch, who co-directed John Wick.
Yeah.
But it was a really fun time at the theater.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say this. I really enjoyed this one almost as much as Deadpool 1.
Yeah.
And this is because I really felt for Wade in this movie.
Yes.
Like when he was having those flashbacks of like being with a significant other, I was like, what if I ever lost my significant other?
Man.
I'm like, oh my God, I would feel exactly like this. And I feel like they hit the nail on the head with that because it really made me care for him.
Exactly.
Obviously, we still had some good old Deadpool raunchy jokes and stuff like that. And I was good with that. I think they pulled off the Juggernaut great.
Yes.
I love what they did with Colossus. I wasn't sold on with Colossus on the first one.
Okay. Yeah.
I was really sold with Colossus on the second one. But overall, I enjoyed this movie a lot more.
I never would have thought that out of all of the characters and things that are happening in like Fox's X-Men movies, that Deadpool would have been the one where I'm like, you got to bring that one over to Marvel.
That one's got
the rest of them, leave them.
Yeah.
I don't care. But I'm like Ryan Reynolds and Zazie Beetz and Josh Brolin in human form, not in purple form, and even the guy that plays Colossus, that whole little world and that tone and the Juggernaut, version of Juggernaut. They are like proving themselves sort of up and above the rest of the X-Men movie
they're putting
world,
out,
which isn't even bad, but it's just like they're executing it so well. They're forcing everybody to take notice.
Right.
That first movie was a surprise hit. They're forcing audiences to love these characters with them. With the budget that they have, with the support that they have, whatever. It's not in 3D. They're putting that towards marketing really smartly. Like all of that stuff is making me hope that creative team, with what's happening with Fox and Disney, is able to continue.
Yeah,
and I
agree.
think that the ultimate reward for these 2 movies and the creative teams behind them, Ryan Reynolds, the producers, writers, everybody, is if Disney went, we are going to make, look, they've apparently been saying, we might make this Black Widow movie rated R with Scarlett Johansson. That's what Disney MCU is saying, and I think it's really smart. And I'm like, again, when we talked about rated R movies years and years ago, it was always like, that's not on our plans right now. I always said, I'm like, at some point there will be a moment where they'll go, we're going to do a rated R film now. Either the whole franchise is getting stale, it works for the character, whatever. Here's a golden opportunity. Reward the creative teams of these 2 movies and go, Ryan Reynolds, you're in the MCU. We're going to make a Deadpool movie with our support. It's going to be rated R, but we're going to let you play with the rest of these characters. You want Tom Holland Spidey in this? We'll give you time. Like that level of like, Ryan, what do you want to do? Is this your last Deadpool movie, Deadpool 3? Like you're getting up there. How many more of these do you want to do? You've crushed it. Now it's Disney. We're going to back you up. That should be the thing that happens with this franchise. I really, really like these first two movies.
Yep.
And again, the creative team behind these films, like I think they get it. They know how to make a great movie, super entertaining, super funny, but they get the character.
They get it.
Yeah.
So absorb them into the rest of the
Gotta
team
give
that
them
also
props.
gets the characters. They're over here and they're like,
Yeah.
we understand Peter Parker. We understand Steve Rogers so fucking well. You want to come play with us? And then have that Chris Evans, Steve Rogers go up against Wade?
Deadpool. That would
Can
be
you
crazy.
imagine, like,
that would be amazing.
That'd be crazy.
If they
That would
put
be
out a
amazing.
movie called Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe and just call it that, like the comic book, and just do it, where he just cuts the swathing through this whole MCU franchise, like, and you get to tell these MCU actors, like, hey, do you want to be in a scene opposite Deadpool?
Yeah. And he's going to slice you up.
He's literally going to
He's
kill you.
literally
Like,
going to slice
I
you
imagine a
up.
lot of these actors would be like, what kind of cameo is this?
Yeah.
This is fun. I'm going to do
awesome.
this.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
even if it's not in their contract, it's like,
Sure.
bro,
Right,
but don't you
right.
just like this thing's
Just
going
a
to
quick
be
little.
Who doesn't
quick
wanna work
little
with Ryan
fun,
Reynolds?
little
Come on.
quick
Yeah,
little
man.
quickie.
Yeah.
it should be so
Little
great.
quickie.
That's what they need. That energy, that parody. They need MCU needs to make fun of itself at that level, at that literal level,
agree. I agree.
instead of just like kind of meta in their stuff. Like
Yeah.
they need Deadpool to show up and
I
look
agree.
to the camera and be like, I'm Disney, baby. Like
Yep.
that,
Yep.
that's
Take that, Mickey
really.
Mouse.
They've already been doing that with Wreck-It Ralph and shit. Disney's
Yeah.
used to
Yeah,
it. Disney
yeah.
has been making fun
It's
of
there.
itself.
It's there.
It is one technique that they have, approach, strategy, to allow themselves to continue sort of getting away with very commercial products.
Yep.
Is they do it, but then they go, nah, but we're Disney, right?
But
Ugh,
guys,
we're the
come on,
worst.
we
know.
But
Yeah.
give us
Yeah.
money to see this, and it works.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
audiences
Yep.
are responding to it. So
I agree.
Incredibles 2 was such a great time. I was so happy to finally revisit this franchise after
Yeah.
14 years. The animation style, I thought, has I went back after, and I know we looked at like clips and videos and stuff of Incredibles 1. And to
Gorgeous.
see how it jumped,
Oh.
the quality jump from Incredibles
Are
1
you
to
kidding
2.
me?
First
Yeah.
one's ugly now.
Implementation
It
of
kind
all
of
the,
is. Ugh.
all the
Kind of
visual
is, yeah.
effects, but the consistency as well of the way the characters look, the storytelling
Yes.
quality, all
Yeah.
that sort of stuff. Really, 14 years later, because sometimes it's hard. You revisit a movie even like 2 to 3 years later, and you kind of
Right.
miss the mark. But with this, 14 years later, to really being able to nail it and make it feel like it's this,
Like they never skipped a
a beautiful
beat.
continuation of
Yeah.
the first movie was solid for me.
Yeah, no, I agree. I had a lot of fun with this movie. It felt very satisfying. When the credits started rolling, I was like, yes, that's exactly what I wanted. Brad Bird, like I said, it never felt like he skipped a beat whatsoever.
Yeah.
I feel like there was a perfect blend. I think there was a danger of this movie jumping the gun too much as far as the VFX went.
Yeah.
And making it look a little too polished.
Because it is a cartoony world.
It is a cartoony
Stylized.
world. It's very stylized, but also like with all the jumps and advancements in technology, it would have been really easy to just like make Bob and the family
Open a can
look.
of worms.
Yeah, exactly. Because you can't necessarily get that look from back then, and that would have killed the movie. I think if we would have had a Bob and family that didn't hit or feel the same as that last movie, then they would have shot themselves in the foot.
Yeah.
Something tells me that they spent a lot of time researching how to kind of dial back when instead of like enhancing everything forward, you know?
Yeah, because if you just were to look at them side by side, you're like, oh,
Right.
it's the same. It
Yeah.
looks exactly the same.
Yeah.
It's not until you watch the movie, and even when you see like the
Exactly.
flashbacks, you're like,
Yeah.
oh, this is very edgy.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very
Yes.
it's very there. But when you don't watch it back to back, you're like, yeah, that flashback feels exactly like the
Yep.
old movie felt,
Yep.
you know. So
Yep.
I think they did a really good job. The movie is the first animated movie that made $1 billion or something like that.
Yeah.
I think it broke records.
That's
That
awesome.
I think
was
it's
the
I
first
think it's
first
the,
$1 billion animated movie.
and I think it's the 4th or 5th highest grossing film of the year.
Yeah.
Of
I
2018.
mean,
Yeah.
it got its dues, and
Yeah.
it much needed them. So yeah,
it
cool.
did really well. Ant-Man and the Wasp was a really fun time in the movies.
It's okay.
In terms of the greater
It's all right.
cinematic universe,
yeah.
it's definitely not on the level
You're
of Black Panther and Avengers Infinity War, but I like the fact that it was sort of a break and a breather
Yes.
to just
Yeah.
explore something really fun and kind of
Yeah.
quirky,
Lighthearted.
and
I
letting
think-
Paul Rudd just kind of have fun.
I
Yeah.
think since 2014, Marvel Disney has been kind of doing that on purpose,
yeah,
right?
I agree.
2014 was Captain
Alternating
America,
tones.
The Winter Soldier,
Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah,
2015, Avengers, Age of Ultron,
Yeah.
Ant-Man.
Yeah.
2016, Captain America, Civil War, Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
I think they've been doing it on
Dormammu?
purpose, and I think
I agree.
2017 even was Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Spider-Man Homecoming, Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah.
And then this year it's
It was
Black
like different
Panther,
shades
Avengers
of comedy
Infinity
with
War.
drama.
Yeah, Black Panther, Avengers Infinity War, Ant-Man and the Wasp. It's that like levity, you know. But
it's needed, yeah.
What a great gut punch ending cliffhanger though, which is so I know my girlfriend forgot. She was like, "Oh no," when it was happening. And as soon as that post credits was happening, I was like, "Yes." I'm like, "Good."
I'm like, "Here it is."
Like
coming
together. Fit into the timeline. Yes, all of you will die.
Someone made a really cool YouTube video where they actually sync up the ending of Ant-Man and the ending of Infinity War with the snap.
Oh, really?
And it's great. It plays out perfectly.
With Nick Fury and Maria Hills, with their post-credit scene. Because it's interesting because if you remember in Infinity War, like Thanos does the snap, everything goes white, Thanos disappears, and then not everybody just poofs at once. It's like it's in waves.
Yeah.
So they timed it to where when Winter Soldier Bucky was the first guy who's like Steve, and then starts disappearing. It was whoever it was up on Titan, whether it was like Mantis or Drax or Star-Lord. I think it was one of those characters. That kind of go first because I think Mantis is like something's happening and then like Mantis disappears, so like those two disappear at the same time as like when the pilot of the helicopter goes down in the building in the Nick Fury scene, coupled with Ant-Man's in there, and then like the first dusting happenings, and then he's stuck, and then the rest of it was really cool.
It's really well edited.
One thing that I just thought of is why did Bucky's arm disappear if it's metal?
Hey, so did clothes.
Yeah.
So like it's Thanos'
magic. His
magic.
gun didn't disappear.
Yeah. Maybe he.
But it's
dropped
we
it.
can talk about that later.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother theory episode. Yeah.
We call that nitpicking.
Yeah, exactly.
Teen Titans Go to the Movies. I really enjoyed that. That was really fun.
Funny.
A nice, fun little alternate look at these characters in the DC universe. It was. I really enjoy when we have these very different contrasts of DC movies, when you can have something theatrically released that's a DC proper movie, like a live action, whether it's like a BVS or Justice League or Wonder Woman or Aquaman or whatever. But also, earlier in the year, you have something like Lego Batman or Teen Titans Go to the Movies.
Right.
I like having the option. It is similar in a sense to how Marvel's doing it, but here we get to do it within different mediums. Animation, live action.
A DC movie with a Stan Lee cameo is pretty, pretty interesting.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And Sony or Marvel did it this year with Spider-Verse as well. Like to be able to take those risks, to be able to tell a bunch of really funny jokes, to have the challengers of the unknown throughout Teen Titans Go to the Movies was like super funny and really obscure.
Great references to just
great
everything.
references, and still having a message in there about superhero movies. It was I really liked it. I need to watch it again.
You guys should watch this show.
Yeah,
it's
I know.
Really, really
I've been
I've
wanting
seen
to watch
some of
it
it,
from the beginning. I've been wanting to
that's
like
same.
episode
'Cause
one.
it's kind of like all over the
That's
place.
going to be kind of tough because it's not like a continuous show, so you can jump in at any point.
And it's not streaming anywhere, I don't think either.
No,
so
not yet.
But I did the same thing. I did the same thing with OKKO Let's Be Heroes.
Yes.
I went and tracked them down, and I saw every episode in order of their huge first season, and I love that show. And I was like, okay, great. Cartoon Network, still crushing it. I love it. I'm going to do that with Teen Titans Go.
Yeah.
I just haven't gotten around to it.
They have some really good episodes. The one that I'm going to tell you to look out for is episode 200.
Okay.
It's the episode where their world starts fading away, and they run into this area, and it's the animators who draw them. So everybody who animates and works on the show is in the episode.
That's awesome.
And they're all tied to the floor with chains, and they're working 12-hour days.
So funny.
You guys will love it because you've been there.
Too real.
So they're tied up, and they're like, we can't go anywhere. Like they talk about how they make money. They're like, oh no, we don't make money here. We have rental properties. Like we do this because we love to do this.
We flip stuff on eBay, huh?
It's fucking.
Awesome.
You guys will
brilliant.
just skip ahead and watch episode 200.
Cool.
It's amazing. Yeah, just start there.
Dude, I was sold when the show came out, and then I saw a clip of Batman and Commissioner Gordon having a sleepover.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
I love it. And Alfred kept kind of opening up, and they're like, I'm like, this is great.
They have another good series too, where the Justice League is holding tryouts, but they're holding it like American Idol or something like that. So they each have to go up to the front and like display a skill or whatever, and Robin's always getting fucked over, which is really hilarious.
Tiny baby hands, man.
Yeah. So you guys should Just watch it. I watch it on the regular.
Great show.
It's a good show.
Continuing the Spider-Man universe, Venom. We got Venom. I think for me personally, this was probably my least anticipated superhero movie, anti-superhero movie, whatever, of 2018.
Maybe Bumblebee is that for me, but I'll give you that.
Yeah, it was the one that I just, for whatever reason, all the trailers, I just didn't think the marketing was strong. The stuff we saw at Comic-Con, I wasn't that impressed with it. Surprisingly, and I think a lot of it has to do with, and it's weird saying the charm of Tom Hardy because he has such a very introverted personality, but I think it really, really worked with Eddie Brock.
He's just interesting to watch.
So interesting to watch, the way he moves, talks, and just does his thing in this movie.
This movie is entertaining.
Yes, his interactions with the symbiote is absolutely hysterical.
It is.
And at first, I was like, I don't get it. Why is this movie making so much?
Yeah.
And then finally, I watched it, and I was like, I get this.
Yeah.
I get what this movie is.
You're a loser already.
Yeah. Pussy. And I'm like, this is hilarious.
What?
I get it.
This movie is the definition of hot mess. But sometimes hot messes are fun.
Yes.
And
I would put this on in the background at a party. For sure.
Oh, totally. Where people are like, wait, what the fuck? Yeah. What'd you put on, bro? Oh, you haven't seen Venom? Let me turn it up.
This
part's good. This part's good.
Yeah.
My comic book brain is trying to grapple with but how does it fit? Where is it gonna? Are they gonna?
It's such an unknown.
What's Sony gonna do? What is this? But then my other part of my comic book brain, where there were these little tiny flashes of authenticity of Eddie Brock, of Venom, of this weird character from the comic books and his sort of style and his story and world, and when Venom's Venom, despite him missing the symbol and the connection to Spider-Man, I was like, holy shit, that's Venom. They pull off full-on comic book Venom in little moments. It was the same as when I went to go see TMNT, the animated 2007 CG
movie.
Great movie, but I was like, all right, I'm gonna go see it, and it isn't until you sit down and you start watching, you're like, oh, I'm watching a Ninja Turtles movie, and it's new and it's cool. I was like, oh, I'm gonna go see Venom. It was already a joke before it came out, and then while watching it, there's those little moments where I was like, oh shit, that's from the comic. That's better than the comic. Oh shit, that's cool, because most of the Venom Eddie Brock stuff, most of it, I think, and most of the stuff that people recall are the 80s, 90s stuff. A lot of that stuff isn't that great. It doesn't hold up that well. But we love the idea of this character, and they went through and kind of ironed some stuff out. I was impressed with those little shiny moments of comic booky. But the whole movie's a fucking hot mess, man. But I don't dislike it.
It's a good hot mess.
So
in the rare opportunity, it's a good hot mess.
I have still not seen it, so that's on my to watch list.
Yeah. And then I think the big three, the big showdown at the end of the year.
Oh, right.
Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
Hector, can I be on Animation Investigation and we'll watch this movie frame by frame and talk about every single fucking frame?
Just investigate that.
Just investigate
Pretty
every
much, man.
single frame of this movie.
It was my favorite superhero movie of the year in a year that Black Panther and Infinity War is released. Incredibles 2 is released.
Yeah.
And I'm still it's the animated Spider-Man movie. And I've seen Spider-Man animated before. I've grown up with Spider-Man animated, but this thing is my favorite superhero movie. It is my favorite movie of the year. Period. It is.
It's probably my favorite movie of the last 5 years.
Dude,
it's that good.
It's that good.
Yeah.
What else came out in the last 5 years?
Creed?
Fucking
Creed,
not as good
dog.
as Spider-Verse.
Not as good as Spider. And you know me and Creed.
Creed is very good.
Come on.
Did you see Creed 2?
No, not yet. Because I'm still scared. I'm still scared.
Watch it. It's good.
I know. I
Not as good,
hear
but it's
good
good.
things. I hear
It's
good
good.
things. But sorry, I cut you off.
But wait, have you seen Rocky 4?
Yes, I have seen Rocky 4.
You've seen all the Rockies?
Yes, I have seen all the Rockies.
Then you're ready for Creed 2.
My guy.
Okay.
Yeah,
good.
exactly. My man. No, that's
This-
Aquaman.
Yeah.
I was watching a
Spider-Verse,
video
man.
today on YouTube where this guy was breaking down just the scenes that were in the trailer.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, there's so much that that went into this project that people really don't realize.
Yes.
Like animating on 2s for some scenes and animating on 1s to make things feel smoother, and then hand drawn things over digital things. They did
Spider-Ham.
They did not even Spider-Ham though. There's this sequence where Gwen is playing the drums, and they went in and there's drawing multiples. I don't know if you know about drawing multiples, where a motion quickness or motion blur, they'll show it as if it's a drumstick, 4 different drumsticks coming down.
Very comic book.
They hand drew in some of those drumsticks. She was crashing the cymbals, and when they crashed the cymbals, you could see the hand drawn cymbal splashes. There's so much. This is why I want to do do like a frame. This is the only movie that I would ever do a frame by frame breakdown of like what is going on.
Or those podcasts where they're like, "Welcome to the Spider-Verse Minute." We break down a minute of this movie.
Yep.
Like I could not do that with most movies.
No.
I could do it with Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
I could maybe do it with the Iron Giant.
Oh yeah,
and That's pretty much it.
I mean, by the time you get done with that, it'll be another 10 years.
It'll be another 10 years. Yeah.
But that's
This movie, so I got my degree in animation, and this is the type of movie that I live and breathe for. Like this is the type of stuff that every single minute of this movie had love and attention poured into it from everybody that worked on the project, and you can tell, and it's just. I can't say enough good things about this movie.
True. And I think that's the thing that I love so much. And we're not even touching on the story.
Right, exactly.
Taking a story that spans multiple universes, multiple Peter Parkers, multiple Spider-Man characters.
Yes, Spider-Man,
Gwen Stacy,
women, everything.
A Doc Ock character, a
that
Miles
they did
Morales.
really fucking cool, by the way.
Dude.
Really fucking
so
cool.
good.
Dude.
And incorporating so many different animation styles. And I think for me, being someone like, as I'm watching more and more animation, I'm realizing just how much of a complicated process it is and how much attention to detail is required. But when you see something like this, and there was a GIF that someone tweeted out who was specifically talking about the part where Peter and Miles are running out of the lab and addressing all the different animation styles within that 10 seconds of frame. Yep. It's so incredibly impressive and such an incredible technical feat to be able to successfully
put together
and then to visually watch it. And
it's a game changer.
It's amazing.
It's a game changer. It has elevated the medium.
Yes,
I agree. 100%.
In a way that animated movies haven't done in a while.
I mean, for me personally, I kind of going forward, if I'm going to really invest myself into animation, it needs to be something that does stuff like this.
Yeah.
Now, I don't want every movie to look like Spider-Verse. But I want every movie to really think about, okay, instead of doing CG animated, what can we do that's CG animated with its head tilted? Like,
or not even that. Like just, I mean that, but also like exploring basically the limitless options that you have with animation. You know, if you're looking for stuff like that, I would recommend watching Glenn Keane's hand-drawn Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin stuff. It's just like, you saw Beauty and the Beast finally, right? So that scene at the end where he transforms and like where he turns into the prince. Listen to Glenn Keane, who's the master animator at Disney. Listen to him talking about all of his reference, and like every single pose was taken from like an ancient Greek or like an ancient Roman statue, and he would stare at that as reference, like those old Baroque paintings and like Renaissance stuff. Every single frame of that animation was drawn by him by hand, and it was off of this classical art style that he was studying. It's mind-blowing, dude. You need to watch this guy talk about like his I can't gush enough about this because I fucking love animation, dude.
It was I was telling people what I had a chance to see Spider-Verse like a week or two early, and I was telling people like, go see Wreck-It Ralph 2 now, because when Spider-Verse comes out, if you see Spider-Verse and you go back to Wreck-It Ralph, you're going to dislike it a lot. Go see Wreck-It Ralph, have a good time, have some chucks, get a couple chuckles in there.
Get a chuckles.
You know, get a message,
nuts, have some chucks,
some great stuff, great cast, great animation, and then go see Spider-Verse, and then the world of animation has changed. And Wreck-It Ralph's a great example because I love both of those movies. I think that they're great. And the second one I thought was fantastic and had some great stuff in it. But when you think about what that movie is, it's a movie about video game characters. And all of a sudden you go, oh, wait a minute. They didn't really push it. They took a video game world and they're like, okay, and now let's make a Disney character to make a rounded. So these are 8-pixel characters, 8-bit characters from the 80s in their arcade, and Disney still found, when you push through the screen, you're like, and now they look like Disney animated characters.
Right.
And that's not what Spider-Verse was doing. Spider-Verse was taking the source material and ripping it open and going comic books. What is so great about reading a comic book that we can translate into animation without copying it like Ang Lee's Hulk, but instead we're going to, do panels, but in a really cool, creative way and a storytelling way. That's sort of like just fucking ripping into it.
Right.
Wreck-It Ralph peeps on both films didn't do that with the world of video games, which is a limitless world of styles and animation styles and storytelling techniques and all these different things. Instead, they sort of took it and mapped it over what you could say is like a very straightforward, not bad, but good story of a character who doesn't want to be a bad guy anymore and he wants to be a good guy and he bonds with a young girl and it's like a father-daughter relationship. All of that stuff I just said is like, it's not unique to video games.
Right.
But Spider-Verse feels like that shit is unique to comic books, superheroes, and unique to Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Right? So that's a great example of how Spider-Verse, I think, has changed the game.
Absolutely.
And again, not to knock Wreck-It Ralph. I still think Ralph Breaks the Internet is great. I had a great time with it.
Yeah.
But it's just that looking at that sort of bigger picture of like, what are we doing? What is this saying?
Yeah.
What are the themes? What can we explore in this?
Right.
Look, I've had the Spider-Verse soundtrack on repeat for the last 2 weeks, so I think that says everything.
I mean,
And the score.
Speaking of the soundtrack, so I don't know if you guys would notice it, but at the beginning of the movie, they threw in
that remix.
No. This music didn't even make it onto the soundtrack. So one of my favorite artists ever is this, or group is called Black Alicious.
Yeah.
They have this amazing song called Chemical Calisthenics.
Yep. It's when Miles is at school.
Yes, exactly.
I downloaded it.
I know that song by heart.
It's not on the soundtrack. Go hit us with a little bit.
I can't because he cusses and he drops a couple of words that I shouldn't be saying. So
Thank you
I
to our
can't.
sponsor.
But I've been so before I got into comic books as much as I did, I was a huge hip hop fan.
Yeah.
So from high school, the beginning of high school to probably when I finished college, everything I did was about hip hop.
Yeah.
When I saw this movie, I was like, holy shit! They just played Black Alicious in a movie screen.
Yep.
I would never. This is like an underground band, and so they also played like some Run DMC.
Yep.
They also played Black Sheep. I don't know if you guys have heard of Black Sheep. They also played some Grandmaster Flash.
Yep.
They played some Incredible Bongo Band.
Yep.
I don't know if you guys know about Incredible Bongo Band. But that song is considered to be the birth of hip hop because that's a song Grandmaster Flash would play in the parties. So that little part right there, the reason it's called breakdancing and break beats is because he would loop the break of the song back and forth on two turntables to keep it going forever. And people who would dance at that section were called break dancers, and they would be doing all these crazy moves, and that's how hip hop evolved. And for me, I'm just like, this is fucking insane, and nobody in here is freaking out with me right now. Oh,
Lucas, can you please time code this? Because this is the best clip that we have in this whole episode right now. This is like a gem.
This movie was very personal to me because, remember I told you if I started a museum, it would be an animation and hip-hop museum. And that's what this movie fucking was. Oh,
so now your museum is going to be, people walk in and they're just going to be a Blu-ray copy of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Please watch
here
this.
You go. Here's animation and hip-hop.
This is all you need.
Everything you need to know.
Everything you need. I put it on Twitter as like, this is the beginning of the movie is like a crash course into hip-hop.
Yeah.
It is. That's why this movie just like blew everything out of the water for me. And you were right. Yeah, I did watch everything else before I watched this movie.
Good.
So I watched Aquaman. Like everything else was before.
Ended
this
the year on Spider-Verse.
Yeah. So my life has been turned upside down.
That's why when I saw Bumblebee, I was like, that's all right. It's probably because I saw Spider-Verse. If I had seen Bumblebee before, I would have been like, oh, Bumblebee's great.
I made it a point to see Spider-Verse again at the very end of the year, like the last movie. But Bumblebee was a movie I got to see early, like a week or two early.
Bumblebee Tuna.
Bumblebee Tuna. Pet Detective.
When Nature Calls.
The very beginning of the movie starts on Cybertron, and you see the Gen 1, the G1 Transformers,
cool.
and I thought, oh, this is the live-action Transformers movie that I've wanted but didn't know.
Everybody has been saying that. The things I dislike about Bumblebee is whenever it hinted towards the rest of the franchise. Sure. Because I'm like, you put a storyteller, Travis Knight, director of Kubo and the Two Strings, in charge of a story of a young person bonding with a alien creature, animal, pet, friend thing. We've seen that story a bunch of times, but like they do a great job. Haley Steinfeld talking about Spider-Verse. She's phenomenal in the movie.
Yeah,
she
really
is.
good.
And I'm not knocking Shia LaBeouf because I also think he's a great actor. And that movie was requiring different things from him. It's sort of a different.
And I think he's the strongest in the first one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the first one is I would consider that the good.
Yes,
for sure.
This movie, Bumblebee, is that, but better. It's that, but actually taking care of having these characters bond. I mean, Shia was screaming in the first movie, Bumblebee! And there's parts of that really hit you. And in the second movie, when like there's a dumb battle and Optimus Prime dies, and he's like, Optimus! And you're like, okay, I kind of buy it. But you buy their bond in this one, which sells the rest of the movie. John Cena's super fun.
Yep.
Like, there's some really great bits in it. The family's great. So it's this teenage girl story, and like in the 80s, and bought it. That's the most important thing. The Transformers stuff is like, it's easy and automatic by now, so they focus on the right stuff. I think it's easily the best Transformers movie, and I hope that they keep going with Haley and not try to line up to, and now we're in 2007 Transformers 1. I'm fucking who cares?
Because that was the plan initially, right?
Yeah,
like
and they sort of change stuff. There's a couple of like little mid-credit stuff where they pop some stuff in and you're like, well, wait a minute, now this doesn't line up anymore. I don't care.
It doesn't matter. Whatever.
Doesn't matter.
Really doesn't
matter. And I think the thing that works for me, this one does it better than the first Transformers movie, is the story about a teenager first car story, first love story. And actually, to their credit, like it wasn't even like it kind of ends and hints towards a love story, but it's not like forcing
not the focus.
That. It's not the focus. Yeah. The focus is young girl gets first car. This is her story. This is her high school experience.
Her freedom.
Her freedom, exactly. And they make it very, very relatable, and they don't really steer away from that. In terms of the first Transformers, we kind of get away from that, and it becomes less about Sam Witwicky, the young angsty teen, and more about Sam Witwicky, the I don't know,
caught up in this crazy alien battle,
the middleman of the Transformers, and I'm
it didn't
really
even matter after a while that he was there or not. It really doesn't. You guys know why you like this movie better than the rest of them? Because the director was a director from animation, and he knows what the fuck he was doing.
Thank you.
Yeah,
yep,
and,
it's true.
I loved hearing what Travis Knight said and what he wrote, talking about the importance of that specific era of Transformers, what it meant to him as a kid, and how he wanted to translate the feeling of playing with those toys onto the big screen.
Right.
And when you're the director of Kubo and the Two Strings, and you have such an incredible studio like Laika that makes such incredible stop-motion animated movies, that's why this movie was so high up in my list going into 2018, and why it was in probably my top 5 most anticipated, was because I knew who was making it. I knew where that person was coming from.
Did it exceed your expectations? Did it meet them, or was it a little bit below?
I would say it
because it had tough competition, dude, against Spider-Verse.
You know what I mean? It's in between meets and exceeds, somewhere in between.
Okay.
And I think most of it was that I cared so much about the characters, and that's what I wanted. And it makes me feel really good about this director potentially going forward and either doing another Transformers movie, or maybe tackling something in the Marvel DC universe.
Yeah.
It makes me super excited for Christina Hodson, who wrote this.
Yes.
Wasn't she in Spider-Verse as well?
No, but she is the writer of Birds of Prey.
Oh, no, sorry. I was thinking of the actress.
She is. She's Gwen. Haley Steinfeld is Gwen Stacy in Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
She had a good month in December, but that screenwriter is doing Birds of Prey.
Yes, which makes me so excited because I'm like, cool. You wrote a Transformers movie, and I don't know how she personally feels about the franchise, but I was able to really feel a lot of the emotion, and I'm sure a lot of that had to do with Travis Knight. Yeah. So having her writing Birds of Prey, something that she seems very passionate about.
I agreed.
With that, Kathy Yan directing it, I'm like, great. I feel really confident going into that movie, and I think it's going to be great. So I was just pleasantly surprised by Bumblebee, and I really would like them to stick with the 80s, 90s for a little bit longer.
Let's talk about Hasbro for a second. I want to pivot for a second. Hasbro, when really I'm talking about Transformers G.I. Joe. I'm always of the mind of, if you're going to adapt something, find a way to do it today, make it modern, make it current, make it relevant. If the MCU decides to do Fantastic Four, I've heard before, it should be set in the 60s. I'm like, nope, you should do it today, make it relevant, make it for, happen today. But as much as I love elements of G.I. Joe and Transformers and would kind of want them to be brought up to modern eras, the fact that Bumblebee tapped into that 80s, you've got the touch. And I went, shit, wait a minute. Let's hang on a second. The 80s was the decade in which Transformers G.I. Joe kind of ruled it.
Was it.
And it was it. And it's sort of their peak. And I feel like everything after Transformers G.I. Joe, the fans, the old dude fans that have grown up since the 80s are always kind of asking for that stuff anyway. Like, if they're going to do G.I. Joe, everyone's favorite's Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow. And if you're going to do Transformers, it's Optimus and Bumblebee and Gen 1, G1.
It's not Beast Wars.
So, exactly. No one's like, oh, bring in, my favorite. None of these dudes are like, my favorite character is Windblade, who was introduced in the comic books in 2000. Even though I love Windblade, she's a great character. But I like that this movie embraced it and found it. And now I'm going, you know what? What if G.I. Joe was also an 80s franchise?
Right. And then they could cross it over.
Where they leaned into this really macho 80s Stallone, Rambo Arnold style movie. But it still had a 2019 or 2020 modern day sensibility.
Sure.
So that it wasn't overtly racist and sexist, but still 80s fun.
Yeah.
I'm all of a sudden going, maybe that's how you do G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
Is this pre-internet world of G.I. Joe versus Cobra, like that cheesy,
just
fun
sweaty
thing.
dudes in the jungle with their shirts off.
And
dude.
it could be a little bit meta and have some commentary about like Reaganomics in that era, you know, of the United States policy. Have some
when
commentary.
the guy goes, I ain't no yuppie.
Yeah,
right.
It's the same. It's the same way that like Adam McKay's Anchorman movies, even though they're super silly and fun, like the first Anchorman set in the 70s, the second in the 80s, they have something to say about those decades.
Right.
They do say some stuff.
Yeah.
It's some of it's, you know, a little like, okay, buddy, just get us to the jokes, get us to those yuckles. But like they say some stuff about sexism, about race relations, and then like the 24-hour cable news cycle in the second Anchorman that I was like, this is pretty accurate. It's pretty messed up that where we are today. You can look back on that decade or those decades with that lens. Who's to say you couldn't do the same shit with Transformers and G.I. Joe?
Right.
You know,
I mean, you can.
So I would be okay with, again, them kind of sticking there without having to bring it up to speed or without, I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, I love that idea. I think doing a very macho 80s G.I. Joe would be so much fun.
Yeah.
And get like, oh man, the actors that you could use.
It's Expendables.
You could do
that.
It would be perfect. It would be so good. Yeah, I'd be all for it.
I'm down.
And then cross it over
But
eventually.
as opposed to something like He-Man, because He-Man doesn't take place on Earth, even though it is a very 80s franchise, He-Man is essentially Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah.
It's synth. You know what I just started watching too? I watched the first episode.
Of?
She-Ra
on Netflix, and it was dope, and it was modern.
Okay.
Have you seen it yet?
I couldn't get past the animation.
Ooh.
Like the animation is a little subpar for me, but if you're saying it's good.
Again, man, it's so have you seen it or just from the trailers and stuff?
No. I started watching episode 1 and I was like, I don't think I could do this.
It is
like 5 minutes in, I turned it off.
It is TV animation, right?
Okay.
It's different budgets than dude. Spider-Verse is gonna spoil us on
I know that's the problem. I saw it after Spider-Verse. Shit.
But here's what I dug about it. It seems like from a storytelling standpoint, the writing and everything for She-Ra, I think it's going to deliver. So like that's what I'm like. Oh, I'm interested. I'm like curious about what they're going to do. I'm curious. Like Noelle Stevenson is the creator of Lumberjanes. She's the writer for that comic book, and I think she wrote the Lumberjanes movie. And so there's going to be some more Hollywood stuff coming from her. But I love the colors, the very like vibrant sort of girly 80s colors, but still very like neon and because again it's kind of
your face.
It's synthy and it's Thor Ragnarok-y, and I love the music. As I was listening to the score, same thing. It's again, it's not going to be like an orchestral movie thing, but they're like still doing like little synthy stuff that I'm going. It's still sci-fi. It still fits. It's just reminding me of Thor Ragnarok. That's going to be He-Man.
Yeah.
So you can't say He-Man took in the year 1986, but how do you lean into the 80s, which is where He-Man was born, and that's what people love, is you make it like that. Is you make it that real like... Well, in
the original Masters of the Universe, they had that synth that they would play.
Yeah.
And
really?
It was the key. You remember like that key
in the
thing?
cartoon
No,
or in the movie?
in the movie.
I don't
you
remember that
the movie.
I hate it.
I know the movie's stupid, but they had that thing,
so funny.
thing with all the buttons on it, and it would be like synth noises.
Yeah.
And I'm sure back then that was like, oh, those are the coolest noises we can find.
Yeah.
But now it's just
the
like,
future.
yeah. Exactly.
Now,
it's the future from the 80s.
I want like a live-action He-Man movie, and I want like Orko, this little like CG thing, to be like casting spells, and when it shoots it out, it's like like that's what his spells sound like. It's all 80s synth and stuff.
Oh my god,
that'd be cool.
That'd be great.
Okay, let's move on to
closing out the year.
Yeah,
Aquaman.
Yeah.
Now I don't really know how a lot of people felt going into Aquaman. I thought the marketing for the movie was great.
Yeah.
And I know when we did the Comic-Con
Didn't like
review,
the first trailer, second trailer good.
Not that I didn't like the trailer, but seeing that trailer and then immediately in Hall H sitting there and watching this 3-minute preview that they then released later, I was like, that should have been your trailer. What the hell?
Yeah. I mean, which eventually was.
Eventually was.
And
then they came out that last trailer that came out like a few weeks before the movie dropped, and I was 100% into it.
Yeah.
I walked out of this movie so the first time I saw it in IMAX 3D. I will admit, Hector's going to be real mad. I was not crazy about the 3D. I like the IMAX.
That sucks.
I like the IMAX aspects of it. I thought that worked really, really well. The quality of and like, look, you may not notice it because you don't have the detail look that we do because we know all the ins and outs.
Nobody sees it as well as we do.
We used to do what they called pixel fucking.
Yes.
That was our job.
And clearly not enough was done on Aquaman. Right? A lot of stuff slipped through the cracks, and I'm like, how?
What is it, edging? Was that what it was?
A lot of edging and a lot of stuff like, why are Aquaman's feet in the floor? Really weird stuff. But overall, in terms of the movie-going experience, this movie was pretty much what I thought and hoped it would be. It was a rock concert. At a 10.
80 synth, right?
Yeah.
That score, it's dope.
I had such a fun time. I thought Jason Momoa played Aquaman the way I thought I would expect Jason Momoa to play Aquaman.
Yeah.
He pretty much just plays himself underwater. And I'm okay with that.
With a trident.
And I'm okay with that because I love Jason Momoa's personality. I love his charm. And I just sort of love whenever I see videos or interviews with him or anything, like that big lovable guy, that's the fact that is Aquaman, and the fact that he can kind of turn that the opposite way and just be this like badass warrior king and kick the crap out of everyone.
Right.
Was super fun to watch, super entertaining, and the visual effects were
they were on point.
Yeah.
The fact that to sell, and look, I get that, Avatar pushed all these boundaries and all this sort of stuff. I believe that. And Avatar 2, underwater, I'm sure it's going to do it. But this had a very big uphill battle. First of all, it's coming off of a movie. It's coming off of Justice League not being a very successful movie. It's coming off of Wonder Woman being successful, but it's also coming off other movies not being. So it's like nobody really knew what to expect.
It's in this weird space.
It's in this weird space. And I was kind of like, you know what? Just be entertaining, be fun. It has a coherent story. Are there things that you could nitpick? Sure. Is there certain things that I'm like, doesn't work for me? Yes.
But in a lot of ways, with those things you're talking about going into the movie and where we were with this franchise and this brand, DC, before Aquaman, it kind of had nothing to lose.
Yeah.
And it was a really smart play for this movie to be the one that came after Justice League. I don't think that they planned for Justice League for the production issues to happen, and I don't think they planned for people to respond to the movie the way that they did. However, it just so happened Aquaman's next. Aquaman is a character everybody already thinks they know how they feel about him. Aquaman, the movie, is not a movie like The Dark Knight.
No.
It's not a movie that's like, and now the solo Batman film that would have had all this pressure, or the Wonder Woman follow-up.
Yeah.
It's Aquaman.
Yeah.
So in a way, again, kind of like Ant-Man or Ant-Man and the Wasp, is able to sort of take those expectations and have fun.
Yes.
And the movie didn't need to do that much, in my opinion.
I don't think so either.
You know what I mean? It didn't need to do as much as other films. Even Wonder Woman needed to do a lot because Wonder Woman had that pressure of, oh my God, it's been way too long.
Yes.
It's the first Wonder Woman movie, and it's the first live-action movie superhero film in this franchise starring a female character and an actress, directed by a woman with this level of budget, with this level of care, with this level of support. That is a lot of pressure. So Aquaman's able to come in and be like, let's have fun with this. And the other thing that I love, too, is when I'm comparing it to Wonder Woman, I think Wonder Woman's a better movie.
Sure.
But I think Aquaman is a more DC movie. It embraces the DC universe. Wonder Woman, as great as it is set in World War I. So it's not like Wonder Woman's fighting Cheetah. It's not like Wonder Woman's, mentions the Justice League. It's not like Wonder Woman is doing all this stuff that Wonder Woman comics do. Instead, it's like this origin story, and it's kind of isolated, and it's great, and it's World War I. Here comes Aquaman, and it's like Orm, Atlantis, Black Manta, fucking seahorses, Mera, Mera's father, King Nereus.
Shows up on a seahorse, and I was like, yes,
dude,
you
like
did it.
Everything, almost like like a good early Marvel Studios movie where it felt like they didn't know if they were ever going to make a sequel. They kind of put everything into this Aquaman movie. And the other thing that made me really, really excited walking out of this is I was like, it made me want to go read Aquaman comics more than anything that I've ever experienced Aquaman. More than John DiMaggio's Aquaman and Batman Brave and the Bold, where he's like outrageous. Like now I love Aquaman and I get a lot of the world and have been binging through comics, bro, and I'm pretty much caught up with like his current run, and it's fucking rad. I'm listening to the score, and it's awesome.
What about Justice League, the animated series Aquaman?
Very cool.
The badass that cut off his own arm.
See,
how would you pit those two?
Here's what I'm so excited about that. It's like I went back and rewatched those episodes, and they're great, but even since Justice League, the cartoon, we've gotten, guess what, knocking on this, Young Justice. I don't know if you guys haven't seen Young Justice yet. It's
wait, the third season? I saw Young Justice season 1 and 2.
You saw season 1 and 2. So the level of storytelling in those seasons.
Oh, those are amazing. Yeah.
Right? So Justice League, I love that show. It's so great. But, like, man, if they were doing that today, it would be layers and layers.
yeah,
and
absolutely.
it'd be
agree.
super, super different. But what's so great about that Aquaman is that that's later in his career Aquaman.
Right,
He's
right.
married to Mara. He has a kid. He has to cut off his own. Like, and I'm already thinking while watching Momoa, I'm like,
He would do
dude,
that.
I'm like, wait till Aquaman 3. He's going to cut off his own hand to save his infant son. Like, I'm already excited that this is Aquaman early in his career.
Yeah.
End of the movie, he's like, this is going to be fun
Yeah,
when he's the king. And now I'm like, okay, but he's going to be a fuck-up king.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
Jason Momoa, Aquaman. Like, there's
Right.
no way he's going to be good at this.
Yeah.
Give me Aquaman 2. I want Black Manta. Here's my pitch. I want Black Manta to get his revenge.
He will.
And I want Manta to kill Tamora Morrison
Ooh.
in front of Momoa. Because Momoa's great. Amber Heard is great. I don't think it wasn't asked of them, and I don't know if they have the chops, but to really go to that dramatic place. Thankfully, my favorite thing about Aquaman is Tamora Morrison, Nicole Kidman.
so
Atlanta and Tom,
Tom,
the
Tom
lighthouse
Curry.
keeper, Tom Curry. The fact that the movie's backbone is that love story, it worked for me. Like,
Same.
It's cheeseball, it's super cheesy, but like the opening and the ending where she shows up on the halfway through the movie.
Loved
First
it.
time I'm watching it, I was sitting next to my buddy John Piercello. He's the producer and writer on Animation Investigation. We went to go see it. And when they set up what the beginning was, and then the fact that Atlanta went away, and then halfway through the movie, we find her. I leaned over to my buddy John, and I was like, if she doesn't go on that fucking pier by the end of
gonna
this
be
movie.
so mad.
Like, I was so invested, and I was like, if she doesn't, and he was like, that's where they're going to go. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, good. And at the end of the movie, it's super cheesy.
love
The
it.
music, the sunrise, it's all CG, and then
Of
she
course.
shows up and walks, and they hug, and now take him away. In the next movie, Manta's gonna kill him, and I want Momoa to be holding his dad.
Yeah.
because I liked their bond.
I loved it, yeah.
It worked for me. Where they go drink a beer.
Tamara
and
Morrison and Jason
dude,
Momoa.
He's
Two
great.
charming-ass
Tamora,
guys.
again, Movie Bob's review of Aquaman. He was like, "Why isn't Tamora Morrison in everything? Like, he's awesome."
what I've been saying
He's
for
awesome.
20 years.
Yeah.
So like, I want Tom Curry to die in Arthur's arms in the next movie, to really carry through. Again, another thing I love about Aquaman is when he lets Black Manta and his father effectively die, where he's like, you beg the sea for mercy, and goes up away. And then later in the movie, when Manta shows back up, he's talking to Mara, and he's like, this is my fault. I feel like it was I'm like, thank you. Your actions have consequences, motherfucker. You're a superhero.
Yep.
That's what these movies should be about. And it was. And now let's just push that forward. Let's go to some great dramatic places. Let's see more of Atlantis. I want Aquaman and Mara down in there, and Arthur,
Trench.
I want more of that. I want, I've been reading the Aquaman comics, the Jeff Johns stuff and beyond, and it becomes like a little mini Game of Thrones. It becomes so interesting and political, and introduce Orm's sister Tula, and introduce Aqualad, a.k.a. Garth. But then also, I'm already pushing, because if you've seen Young Justice, I'm like, how are you going to bring in Calder?
Right.
You got to move this story forward, bro.
But by the time we see Young Justice, it's pretty advanced. Like,
It is. But Young Justice is and Young Justice moves forward in time.
Yeah, exactly.
Between seasons 1 and 2, it's a 5-year skip.
it's like the Justice League is already super season.
Yes, and Robin goes from Robin to Nightwing,
Yeah,
and then between seasons 2 and 3, it's a 2-year skip.
Yeah.
They're pushing it,
Yeah.
but because of that, I just want the DC cinematic universe to be able to do that, to get to that legacy.
I
right?
think
That's what's
I
exciting.
think so. I think, honestly, like, what this movie did was, first of all, you're right. DC had nowhere to go but up. So, I mean, we should have expected this movie to be good. Was it as good as I expected it to be? I thought it was even better than I expected it to be. No joke. Like, I came into this movie not skeptical at all. I came into this movie excited. I came into this movie hoping that this would be sort of like the shot in the arm that not only Aquaman needed, which he got, but also DC as a whole. I feel like,
And the audience.
also the audience, of course. I kind of wish I had seen it with you guys as well as Pooch, because as soon as Pooch saw it, he was like, dude, Jason Momoa. Like, he was not looking forward to this movie at all, which was funny to hear. But this movie, I think, was a little bit long in places, but I feel like they did a good job of letting everything breathe. It felt, everything that happened felt very earned. And I feel like they really paid attention to the things that mattered, as far as, like, visually they did, story-wise they did. But I think one of my favorite things in this movie was the practical suit Manta. Like, that suit.
Bro, I've seen it in person.
Is it as dope as it looks in the
awesome.
movie?
It's awesome.
It looks so
Yeah.
good in the movie.
It's like this like sleek sort of spandex black, and then it's those kind of plasticky looking armaments,
like the armor
like
pieces.
and then his little like like things in the back. I should have brought my action figure, dude. I got the because as soon as I'm gonna let you need to keep going with your point, but
that's fine.
James Wan designed this movie to be toyetic. That's Star Wars shit.
Yeah.
Star Wars invented that term.
Yeah.
He and his creative team specifically looked at stuff and they're like, we're going to design it. I'm going to do an Australian accent. Well, we're going to design it this way because it's going to make a cool looking toy. Like that's James Wan, and I love that shit. Go on.
I mean, you kind of just took it out of my hands, but yes, I agree. I saw Ocean Master's toy at Target, and I was like, that's exactly like the movie.
Orm looked. And
Yeah,
that's, to
silly
me,
but awesome.
Yeah.
to me, that's what I
with the
love.
things like this, but
I
I'm like,
loved it.
I dig it.
When he like scowled, he was like,
Yeah.
Yeah, and
and it like just CG moved. I was like,
yes.
this is
Like,
I
fucking
love
great.
it. I love it.
Yeah, that's fine with it. Like, honestly, I didn't even notice it because everything just felt so organic.
And like, honestly, I love that pretty much everyone survives.
Yeah.
Orm, Manta, and it's like, cool,
Yeah.
we can continue expanding this,
Yeah.
playing with the family drama, that Game of Thrones thing.
Right.
Like,
Willem Dafoe,
I love that.
Volko, like everybody.
Yeah, no, it was great.
My favorite thing about this movie overall was when he became the king, they turned the butt of every single one of the jokes that had been told for the past 60, 70 years
to fish.
into the reason why he becomes the king.
Yeah, I love that too. I love that.
That monster that he was talking to, nobody had ever communicated with it.
Julie Andrews. That,
Yes,
that did the
exactly.
voice, yeah.
Exactly. And she's like, "Oh, you understand me because he can talk to
Understand me.
fucking fish, and then he's the king." Like it's just.
And they would even have the sound effect. Woo.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
it was in there from Super
Exactly.
Friends.
It's just like
so good.
James
Yeah.
Wan took the butt of all the jokes that they even said in the movie and flipped it around and turned it into the thing that the catalyst that turned him into what he needed to be.
And-
Fucking brilliant.
And you needed
really
that.
smart.
You
Yeah.
needed that. And
Yeah.
I love that James Wan. And like, look, from Saw to The Conjuring to the Furious 7 doing a masterful job with that to Aquaman, it was like, great. You took all the things that people were like, ha ha ha, that's lame. And you went, no, that's fucking cool.
He's like,
and
watch, hold my beer.
delivered.
Hold my beer, bitch.
Yeah.
Hold my beer.
Yeah,
James
no.
Wan's out of beer. Everyone's
holding all of his beers.
Everyone's holding
Yeah,
all of his
and,
beers.
and there's been a lot of talk recently about DC and Warner Brothers, mostly Warner Brothers, just sort of embracing one movie at a time, single story. Whatever the shared universe ends up becoming, we'll find out. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a double-edged sword.
Sure.
It's a double-edged trident. No, it's a sword. Because on the one hand, you do you, boo-boo, like figure it out one at a time.
Right,
Don't rush
right.
into things. And on the other hand, when you have a hit, when you have Wonder Woman, you have Aquaman,
Right.
I want more of them immediately. And I know that Momoa is what? He's in his 40s.
Yeah.
He's 39.
He's 39. So then this year he'll be 40.
Yeah.
2 years from now he'll be 42. It's this thing of we have
Movies
to.
don't take overnight to make. Sort of thing.
They take a long
Yeah.
time. Movies like this take a long time, especially with pre and post and everything. And again, this movie actually this movie did everything it had to do. I'm not going to bash on it for
Right.
not introducing Aqualad. It's like no,
Yeah, no.
because there was so much to do and build so much of the
Yeah,
world, but it's
yeah.
ready to play. We're going right now. Again, opposed to Wonder Woman, the first film. Love that movie, but at the end of that movie, you throw that all away. It's Captain America, the First Avenger. It's okay. Now we bring her into the modern era. So then you
She's
sort of
not
have to
even going modern. She's going to 80s.
84. Then you go from there. It's like, okay, then we're gonna have Cheetah, but then at the end of that, it's like, do you start fresh, sort of, with all of these elements in play. That great cast, my God, Patrick Wilson was so good as Orm, which is like such a cheesy, difficult character to do,
Right,
and he
right.
did it.
And I kind of felt for him. So
Yeah,
good
man,
job. Good
such a
job.
great cast. Visual effects figured out. So now it's just like cool, do it, but do it better.
Yeah.
As opposed to design everything. It's like
Yeah.
they
Right,
have it. Even all the kingdoms.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They have all the kingdoms even. So all of those elements in play, we can keep going back to Aquaman. We can start mixing that into their larger world if they wanted. If they wanted to do Atlantis attacks, where Orm actually invades the surface world and floods Boston and Gotham and Metropolis or
right,
whatever,
right.
they could do that now.
Doesn't
But
he actually destroy the Justice League in that one?
I think I don't know if I read
think
it
he does.
about a month ago. I don't remember him destroying the Justice League. Well, right now, recently, I'm up to Drowned Earth, which is a storyline, I think, from last year
Okay.
to kind of tie into Aquaman, the movie.
I know that
Haven't
Orm
read yet.
really
But Orm,
fucks shit up when he comes
does.
to the surface.
He
Yeah.
does. He like a lot of people die.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
here's the best. Spoiler. Here's the best thing about Orm. He gets stopped by Aquaman, kind of similar to the end of the movie. And instead of Aquaman being like, go put him in an Atlantean prison, because in this comic book storyline he was invading the surface world.
Right.
Arthur to sort of ease tensions between both worlds, gives Orm to the authorities on Earth, on the surface. So he goes to Blvd, the prison that's in Suicide Squad. He goes under the care of Amanda Waller.
Yeah.
And then he's there for a long time. Some shit happens. There's like a breakout. And Orm, King Orm or Prince Orm or whatever, breaks out. He saves a woman and her son from being attacked or from something that happens. He like saves her, and then he
murders them.
He falls in love with her.
Oh.
He goes into hiding. He falls in love with a surface woman, and for like 2-3 years lives on the surface with her and this kid. And his dad is like out of the picture, or he's dead or whatever. And a couple years into it, the kid finally calls Orm like dad, because it's a surface woman and a surface child, and Orm is just Orm, but he has like a whole new life here, and it's at that moment, right, like the night that he's finally bonding with this kid, and he goes and tells his girlfriend, and she's like, "This is so great!" Like, and he's gonna propose, they're gonna have a life, and they're able to move on. That's when he learns that Aquaman has been exiled, Arthur, from Atlantis. They need a king. And Mera is also stuck on the surface world, and his loyalties to his home come into play, where he's like, well, shit, Atlantis needs a king, and it needs to be me. And then his girlfriend's like, wait, you just said you were in love with me, and you're going to stay here with me. And he's like, you don't understand. I have to go back. And it's kind of villainous, and it's kind of, but it's also, he feels this duty of like, I have to lead this nation. It's not because I just want power. Like I believe
it's a duty. It's a responsibility.
It is a duty. It's like a sacred honor that he has to go do it. And that was all in the Mera miniseries, like 6 issues that was focused on Mera, but that's what was happening with Orm. And when I read all that in the past couple weeks, right after watching the movie, I was like, God, I want that in a movie so bad. I'm like, let's get to more Aquaman shit. So that's the problem. It's like, they did it. They're done. When is Aquaman 2 getting greenlit? Because I want it now. You know?
Well, I mean, I don't think we'll have an issue getting it greenlit. It's just, I feel like
it'll be a couple years.
It'll be a couple years, and I feel like DC is kind of afraid of. Well, I don't want to say they're afraid of the success.
They're shifting focus.
They're treading lightly as far as this stuff goes, because they don't know like where. I'm guessing like all this success is just kind of like, I don't know. Like,
well, the thing that they said was the success of Aquaman sort of reinforced the idea that they need to focus more on each individual character's story
before
and less about like, let's tie everything in.
But the thing is, they don't have a person to do that. Like, they don't have a Kevin Feige to like be here and say,
a group of people.
They don't have a Hector Navarro saying this is what you need to do next. And by the way, I'm trying.
They know. They don't care. They don't care. They don't care. No, but I think that the other interesting thing is that, again, so much of that world sort of depends on a couple of key characters, Superman, Batman. And right now it's up in the air with what those characters are going to do, who's going to play them, what the stories are going to be, what the movies are going to be.
Those anchors.
So maybe
Henry
once those
Cavill Superman is kind of on the back burner because of Supergirl.
Probably. So maybe once those anchors are in place, or those plans are sort of laid out. I mean, I've heard rumors from fans, nobody from DC or anything like that, but I've heard like people like us sort of talking about, well, they've got Wonder Woman and Aquaman and they're crushing it. Instead of doing like a big crossover, instead of doing like Crisis on Infinite Earths the movie, or Justice League 2 versus the Legion of Doom, they might just do like Aquaman and Wonder Woman team up. Right? Like, and it's like great. Those are two characters that that happens actually all the time. They are linked in their mythologies, and it kind of makes sense. So it's like they might do a Thor Ragnarok thing where it's like, we got Mark Ruffalo, he's around. Put him in Thor. It's a Hulk Thor buddy movie. So we might see something like that before we get to a
and I think we talked about something like that. Like, buddy movies would be great, and it's something that nobody else is really doing right now. We get hints of it in the MCU, but not full on.
Instead of going from 1 character movies to 5 character movies, go 1 to 2.
Go 1 to 2.
And then maybe try
3.
4. Yeah,
maybe sprinkle in a 3.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. In terms of 2018, what if you had to pick a top 3? So there were 10 movies.
Spider-Man, Panther, Infinity War. Done.
Yeah, I cannot pick anything else.
Maybe in that order.
Or Spider-Man.
Yeah. Spider-Man's my number 1.
Yeah.
Does anybody have a different number 1?
You know, to be completely honest, right now.
And don't you dare disagree with us, Adam.
Yeah, I know.
Don't you
right
dare.
Now, I think for me, number 1, I may edge it out to Infinity War.
I love it.
Only because of what it did and the promises that it delivered.
Absolutely. absolutely. So that's your number one.
Okay.
Augie and I are with Spidey.
Yeah,
What's our number two? I think
Spidey.
my number two is Infinity War. What's your number two?
That would be Spider-Verse.
Augie?
Ooh. I just saw Infinity War the other day, but I haven't seen Black Panther in a while. But I fucking love Killmonger.
Let's watch Black Panther real quick.
I'm probably going to give it to Black Panther because
Excellent.
I like Killmonger so much. And then Infinity War third. But that's like splitting
That's
hairs,
That's
dude.
like top 3 choices at number 1, basically.
Right. I can make a case for number 1 for all of these, you know, but this is literally splitting hairs for me, and I'm going to give it my number 2 spot to Black Panther, but it's by the tiniest of margins.
And that begs the question, is 2018 the best year for superhero movies?
I think it is for the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
I think it is so far.
I think so far it
Yeah.
is. For me, it's my favorite and probably the most successful. And I'm not talking about financially. I'm talking about
Critically.
going through 10 movies and watching them and saying, loved it, loved it, loved it, loved it, loved it. It's fine.
Because everyone's like 2008. I'm like, look, dude, 2008, Iron Man, great.
Yeah.
The Dark Knight, great.
Hellboy,
The
The
Incredible
Golden
Hulk,
Army.
already I've lost people.
Yeah.
Hellboy 2, The Golden Army, already I've lost. When's the last time you saw that? Already I've lost people. Great movie, but like I think I've seen it once.
Yeah,
and
I only saw it once.
I loved it that once.
Hancock. Like,
Sure.
have I lost you yet?
I don't even remember
I like
that movie,
it.
honestly.
I own it on Blu-ray. I can't remember the last time I watched it. Punisher Warzone. Like, don't tell me 08 is the it's not. No matter how good The Dark Knight is and how much you love The Dark Knight, we're talking volume.
Yeah.
Voluminous. 2018 is
this year
Sizzling.
is voluminous, voluptuous. I would
this is a
even dare to
voluptuous
say.
year.
It's voluptuous, but it's all the quality. Like the quality's there.
And with Venom being my least favorite movie, that movie to me is still entertaining enough that I'm like, I'd watch it again.
You'd still watch it before Punisher Warzone and Hancock.
And Wolverine, X-Men Origins Wolverine from 09.
Right, exactly.
Dude.
So I feel like we could spend another 3 hours talking about everything that's coming up this next year too. Like we got a stacked lineup.
So 2019, we've got Glass, which just came out on Friday.
Here's with the exception of yourself, because you haven't seen Glass yet.
Not yet, no.
I want all of us to go through and predict a 1 through 10.
Sure.
If Spider-Verse Spider-Man into Spider-Verse is a 10, and if I don't know, what's like the worst superhero movie ever made? In the past 10, 15, if like Fantastic Four, Josh Trank is
Josh
a
Trank
1.
was
Sure.
pretty
That's
bad.
let's make that our scale.
Sure.
The
Okay.
Josh Trank Fantastic Four is like a 1.
Yeah.
And Spider-Verse is a 10.
Sure.
I want us to go through and predict what each one of these are going to think. You've seen Glass. So you can't do it.
Yeah.
I will say Glass is going to be a 6 for me. Augie?
Glass is probably going to be a 4 for me.
Okay. Next up, Captain Marvel. I think that's going to be an 8.
I agree with
I'm
that.
That's
feeling
going to be in
8.
my top 3. That's for sure.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell the top 3 though, so I'm going to call it 7.
Okay. Shazam. I think that one's going to be like a 7 to an 8 for me.
I think that's
Somewhere
gonna be
in
my
there.
I think it's going to be on the same scale as Captain Marvel.
That's
8,
going to be
8.5.
my 8.
Okay,
That's going to be my 8.
okay.
I'm feeling real good about that movie.
Hellboy, not feeling great about it.
Not feeling great
I'm
about
giving
it.
it a solid 5.
I'm giving
Same.
that a 6.
Okay.
Yeah,
Maybe
I watched
a
the trailer.
5.
I saw the trailer again last night, and I was like, not feeling it.
Yeah.
Avengers Endgame, 10.
10.
10.
They would have to royally screw it up.
Yeah, I mean.
Dark Phoenix.
Oh, Jesus.
Let's talk about Dark Phoenix for a second. I have heard some stuff about this. We've seen this thing get pushed around. We all know how we feel about this franchise currently, which is so weird. Talking so highly about Deadpool 2, and we're still like Dark Phoenix. I'm putting this at a 3.
Wow.
I am like not. I'm more optimistic about New Mutants than Dark Phoenix at this point.
Sure.
At this point, truly, which is like
I probably would go 5 or 6.
Okay.
Mostly because I'm sort of in the same boat of like I'm not really optimistic, but I know what's come before, and I'm looking forward to seeing what Simon Kinberg does with it as opposed to Bryan Singer. 'Cause
Yeah.
I did not like Apocalypse at all. I'm at the point now though where I'm like I need something new with this franchise.
Okay.
So
I'm going to drop this down to 1.
Whoa.
This is a 1 for me.
You think it will be as bad as Fantastic Four? Josh
I think
Trank?
it will be as bad as Josh
Same
Trank's
studio.
Fantastic Four.
Fuck.
I think it will be, and it mainly just because this whole Fox merger thing is happening.
Wow.
I heard so I knew somebody who, remember how we were talking about like the merger not being good for Hollywood?
Yeah.
So a person I work with, her husband was in that industry working with Fox. The day they announced the merger, they laid his whole department off.
Wow.
I'm just like, fuck, man, this is terrible for the industry.
What was the department? Do you remember?
He was working in some television branch of
Gotcha.
it. So like the moment it happened, people started getting laid off immediately because Disney was taking over and they already had a person in that department.
Sure.
So boom. So Dark Phoenix is number 1 for me.
I will actually change mine from a 5 to a 6 more to like a 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Wow.
But
I'm at a 3. Yeah.
Like I say before, I'm hoping I'm wrong because
Sure.
I went into X-Men First Class thinking this is going to be a shit show.
This is the death
and
knell.
I was blown away by that movie
Yeah.
because my expectation was so low.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm dropping Dark Phoenix
To reiterate, none of us are rooting against any of these movies.
Yeah.
No.
We want them all to end up being 10s.
Yeah.
I want to come out of Glass at a level 10 enjoyment. I don't think that's going to happen.
Right.
Adam's seen it. He said to me words.
Yes.
But like we're just basing this off of like where sort of the track record is,
Right.
the hype level, the advertising, the marketing, all of that other stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you're dealing with Dark Phoenix, one of the most powerful entities in the MCU.
Yeah.
And then you're giving them this kind of
there's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff in play.
Yeah.
Spider-Man Far From Home.
Yeah, Spider-Man Far From Home, to me, it's going to be on the level of Captain Marvel, Shazam, like an 8, 8.5. I'm feeling really good about it.
Yeah.
I love that first trailer. I thought it was really great.
I did too. If we hadn't seen the trailer and if we hadn't talked about it, I would put this at a 6 or 7.
Yeah.
Okay.
But after we watched it and we were talking about it and dissecting it and and for the past couple days, on YouTube, I've been defending Zendaya's MJ.
Yeah.
Like I love these characters. I love these versions of these characters. I am confident that, especially coming after Endgame, with the trailer, everyone's like, what does this mean? I don't think we know really what the whole story is going to be. I'm really excited about their Mysterio.
Yeah.
Most importantly, Spider-Man is my favorite fictional character of all time. I have a deep love for this character. This is a 9 for me.
For real?
This is a 9 for me. Yeah, for real.
I didn't know that.
Would have never
For
guessed.
real.
Would have never guessed.
Yeah.
Never
The
would have
New
guessed.
Mutants. That one I can definitely put in like the 5-6 category.
Yeah.
I'm interested. I'm interested enough. I'm interested enough to see what they do with it, but because of things that have happened with it, I'm like, yeesh, I don't know.
I'm at a 4.
Mm-hmm.
4 leaning towards 5.
Sure.
I am more excited about this than I am for Dark Phoenix.
Same.
Because Dark Phoenix is like a bigger movie, and because this is not, it's flying under the radar. It's apparently like a horror movie with some mutant characters. I'm like that means it could be more focused.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's why
what I'm
this
at.
one's getting a little bit more points for me.
Yeah.
I read the Demon Bear Saga that you gave me, so
Dope.
thank you for that.
Dope.
That was good. It's just
Yeah.
once again, this whole Fox merger is really putting a bad taste in my mouth. But the fact that they're taking a horror twist on this one, I'm cool with it. Like I'm looking forward to seeing this one more than
New.
New. They're new mutants.
Joker. For me, based on the footage,
Yeah.
the images,
Yes.
Joaquin Phoenix as an actor. Todd Phillips, for me, honestly, Todd Phillips is the only thing that I'm kind of like,
Sure.
we'll see.
Love
Everything
the
else,
Hangover.
Yeah, the
Hangover
first
2 and 3 are bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm still going to go into it with like a 7.
Okay.
But if I come out of it and I'm like, it's a 9, great.
Yeah.
Sure.
Because I'm really going
Yeah.
into this movie for the look, the style, Joaquin Phoenix. Todd Phillips is the only thing that I'm a little hung up on.
Especially based off of the rest of these. So many of these are sequels.
Yeah.
So many of these are new entries in like an already established franchise.
Yeah.
Hellboy is a like a reboot, but it's still like Hellboy. But this is the most wild card. This is the most Joker card of all of these. Because and I've seen people online say that, and I do agree. Just because it's like you said, I'm not expecting to be 9'd, but if I walked out of there at a 9, I am gonna go. Yeah, makes sense. The creative team, it's everything you mentioned. It makes sense. This is a movie. I'll try to explain. I'm not looking forward to it. I'm not excited about it. I'm really curious about it.
Yep.
I'm at a hot 6 on this one because
solid
no matter
6.
how good the movie will be, because of I think Warner Brothers' strategy with it, that's the thing that I'm still, as a comic book guy, I'm still like,
Curious.
this doesn't feel right to me. This doesn't, as opposed to Warner Brothers announcing we're going to make a Blue Beetle movie with Jaime Reyes. I'm like, yeah. That makes sense, that sort of thing of like this is that's the movie character, that's what you should do. I'm at a hot 6 on this one, Augie.
I honestly, I was not looking forward to this movie when we were first talking about it. Obviously, when just go back on the episodes, But
they will.
that footage, dude, that first footage we saw with the music playing and the style that they were bringing
Sets
to
the
it,
tone, yeah.
That
it
marketing
just like
is
it sparked something in me. It kind of spoke to me, and I was like, this might have something to say.
Yeah.
But right now, honestly, I don't even think I could put a number on it. This is just huge question marks for me.
Oh, you're gonna use a question mark symbol.
That's Joker
Damn.
card. Throw the Joker card down.
Damn.
Question. Throw what's his name? The Riddler's card down.
Yeah.
Because I honestly have no idea about this movie. I'm hoping to be blown away.
Wow.
If the indication of the style and the cinematography is anything to say with it.
Agreed.
But I can't label it right now
Yeah.
because it's just there. I haven't seen anything else.
Yeah, I respect
So,
that. Lucas,
I don't
is your
know,
number
man.
one Endgame? No. What's your number? What?
what's your number one?
Really?
Shazam.
Lucas's number
I'm
one.
in.
Most
in.
looking forward to is
All right,
Shazam.
all right.
You
know
want to know? You want to know what my question mark is? Star Wars Episode 9.
Oh.
Jesus. Oh, that's on a whole nother level right there.
Yeah.
No, well, here's the other thing too: is somewhat the same creative team.
Yeah.
JJ's
Sure.
directed a Star Wars
Sure,
movie
sure.
before. I enjoyed it. Here's another question mark for you because I was going through month to month. Terminator. What the
Terminator?
fuck?
Yeah.
Terminator, dude.
Well, I think for me,
What?
Look at your list, Hector.
For me,
That's just my
Yeah.
number one pick for each month. And people
Sure.
were like,
Yeah,
"Where's
I know.
Shazam?" I'm like, "Look, I cannot wait for Shazam. It's coming out in April. You know what else is
Yeah.
coming out in April?
Avengers Endgame.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I have very
Yeah,
close sort of second picks. Us is another one that's
Yeah.
coming out in
Yeah, yeah,
March.
Yeah.
So, like,
Terminator, I'm looking forward to mostly because it's the old crew coming back. It's James Cameron. I don't like the fact that he endorsed Terminator Genesis, but I'm hoping.
But
with
did
him
he
and
really?
Tim,
But
Tim-
did he really?
Right?
Right? We literally were like,
Him and Tim Miller. I'm hoping because of what Tim Miller did on Deadpool that craftsmanship and that sort of like care is brought into the Terminator universe. So I'm very optimistic and looking forward to it.
Yeah.
If I were to place that, that's probably going to be like a 7 for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Star Wars being the big question mark for me kind of hurts a little bit because I love Star Wars so much. And while there are a lot of things about Episode 7 and Episode 8 that I like,
Yeah.
there are also a lot of things that I haven't really enjoyed and things that as I watch them more and more over time, the more I'm like, I don't know if this really works for me after the second or third viewing.
Oh,
Both 7 and 8.
interesting.
I'm like,
Interesting.
man,
Okay.
there are things that I would have, as a Star Wars fan who's like grown up on it, I would have loved it if the anticipation and the payoff would have done some things differently.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Yeah, like
Okay.
I want it. I
Okay.
want it to be an 8 or a 9, but I'm still sort of like, the backlash of Episode 8 and some of the backlash of 7. I'm like, are they going to take that into account, or are they just going to be like, nah, we're going to
Dude.
just do our own thing?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I really hope not.
Yeah, I don't know.
I really hope because I don't think you can get. I don't think you get good movies by being reactionary. I think that if they, I think their reaction was Colin Trevorrow's out.
Yeah.
That was the,
Yeah.
and that was a preemptive pushback. That
Right.
was I don't think the internet were really harsh on Colin because
Yeah.
that movie
No.
hadn't come out yet or
Yeah.
anything. But like whatever was happening behind the scenes, script wise or whatever, they got him out. They
Right.
pushed him out, and
Right.
and that's crazy.
Yeah.
For something at that level after bringing him in and
Yeah.
whatever. But I don't know, man. I
see.
really hope they don't. I hope that I would really like it if because Ryan Johnson did 8 like on his own.
Yeah.
Like JJ literally passed the baton and Ryan was like, "Okay, great. Actually, JJ, can you make it so that R2D2's on the Falcon?"
with
And that was
Chewie,
like the
yeah.
one thing because he wanted to do something with R2, which was
Yeah.
I thought a really great moment. That's a cheap shot. But I hope that Ryan was able to at least contribute. And JJ was to
Yeah.
be like, "Well, here's what I was thinking."
Yeah.
And Ryan would be like, "Well, here's what I was thinking." And then there could be something that's like,
I
Yeah,
have a
some
feeling
synergy.
that
Finish
they,
it out.
I have
Finish
a
it out.
feeling that they most likely have a good working relationship at
Yeah.
least, and they've had a few conversations about where they're going because they probably knew that they were both going to be working off of each other sometime in the future. So I'm hoping that they had a good working relationship, or we're like, this is where we kind of want to leave it off,
Yeah.
and this is where we're going to kind of go.
I'm-
Obviously, we don't know any of that.
I'm
so.
hoping Colin Trevorrow's script was good enough that they were like, "No, thank you, but we can work with
we
this."
can do some things, yeah.
You know, and then
JJ probably worked his magic. Like,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
there's a lot of hands in that
Yeah.
pot right there. But yeah,
Hey,
it's gonna be
JJ's
crazy.
good at coming on to franchises kind of after the fact.
Yeah,
you know,
he is.
I don't know if he's a better starter or finisher because his starter is like the pilot for Lost, which I love.
It made me buy 6 seasons
Yeah.
of the show. Like,
Wow.
Yeah.
But he also came in for Mission Impossible and came in for Star Trek after the things
Right,
were
right,
already
right.
sort of established. So like
and he still killed
maybe
it.
I mean, he basically did that with Force Awakens, though.
Right.
So I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, he's
Yeah.
a good comeback
see.
kid, so who knows? Maybe he'll
Yeah.
come back and kill it again.
Yeah, maybe. We'll
Don't
see.
know.
But guys, very long episode.
Extra long.
We covered everything that we possibly could have covered going into 2019 and
Lucas
everything
is
coming out of
covered in
2019.
cobwebs over there.
He is done. He's ready for some wine and some cheese and just to relax. Guys, let us know in the comments, what were your thoughts on Aquaman, Spider-Verse, Bumblebee, some of these movies that wrapped out the end of the year? What are you looking forward to in 2019? Also, be on the lookout. Like I said at the beginning, we're going to revamping our Patreon. Get in touch with us. Let us know. What are some things that you would like to see us do so we can, work on that stuff for 2019? Thank you so much for watching. If you are listening on the podcast, thank you so much for listening. Make sure you guys subscribe to Hyper RPG for all the latest stuff that we're doing every single week.
Go buy some chonies at Me
Go buy some
Chonies.
chonies.
MeUndies.
Go to meundies.com/hyperrpg.
Yeah.
Get some chonies for your loved one. And we will catch you guys next week.
Bye.